Good afternoon, everybody. Good night, actually. 5:30 here on the East Coast. Welcome to the Stochastic.com NBA Deeper Dive presented by PrizePicks. Dave Lockren at Lafayette_D on the Twitter, joined by Adam Scherer at Ship My Money DFS, breaking down a little two-game action today. Hopefully we get this Miami series over with sooner than later, but here we are. Miami, New York Knicks, Lakers, Golden State Warriors, both of these push to 6, maybe 7. We'll see. Who knows? I don't. Anyway, Adam Scherer, what's going on, brother?
How's it going? Yeah, looking forward to the late game tonight, at least. It's crazy how, like, the Eastern Conference games are just, like, yeah, obviously they can be good games, but, like, not having a rooting interest, it's really difficult to, like, get excited about the Celtics and Sixers or, Miami, New York game. But, like, then the late games are just always, like, I actually wanted to watch Phoenix, Denver. I want to watch Golden State, Lakers.
I wanted to watch Phoenix, Denver until after the first quarter.
Well, right. Yeah.
But yes, I agree with you. Lakers, Golden State, clearly I've been interested in. And obviously I'm invested in the Sixers series, but that's just rooting interest.
Yeah, I'm invested in the Lakers series. I'm invested in both series, actually, both of those two, Lakers and Sixers.
Yeah, I guess it depends what night it is for me, depending on what I'm invested in. But the Sixers last night, man, if there's any team just very capable of snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, as they say, you're at home. You erase a 16-point lead at home in front of that crowd. You have them on the ropes. Granted, you're only up by a few, but still, late in the game, you're out. Jason Tatum has shot miserably all game, and then he just ignites, goes nuclear, and you end up losing. But what they lose by, like 10 points, 11 points.
11, I think. I mean, both of these teams throughout the series have done a very good job of just completely screwing up every time they have a chance to take over.
They both imploded. And I think how many road games? I think 4 road games have been won so far.
Something
I think
like that.
Each team's only won 1 home game. Celtics won game 2 and Sixers won game 4. Aside from that, it's been all road wins. So yeah. And we got a free square over at PrizePicks I'll tell you about shortly. I believe that, yeah, that's for the Sixers game, but you can still use it whenever. It's when I say free square, it's a legitimate free square. Unless, of course, Joel Embiid goes down early and finishes with 0 points. But
he will go down early. He'll probably just get back up 40 different times.
Yeah, gotta admit though, man. Like people talk a lot of shit on my man Joel Embiid. He takes some pretty serious falls. Like I think some of these are the one block that he had where he was sent into the back of the basket at 100 miles per hour. The guy's not exactly the weight of a feather. And maybe he could control his falls a little bit better than he does, but it's actually, here's a hot take. It's actually surprising that he doesn't get injured a whole lot more than he does.
I agree with that.
Yeah, like he's always falling, and it's always very awkward too. But big man gets back up and can't close out a game. Anyway,
I mean,
happy to have
not everybody can be Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, I mean, what, the 2023 MVP?
Should be.
DC had tweeted something yesterday. It was like, maybe it was earlier today. It's like a motivational, inspirational thing that, keep going. And he's like, this man, is an all-time basketball player and started at this. And it was the picture of Jokic with bigger tits than most women.
Yeah.
You know the picture.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, that was a good tweet.
But I look at that and I kind of disagree with DC. If you look at a kid like that, probably what? 13, 14 years old, maybe it's around there, right?
Yeah. He was probably a monster at basketball then.
He's probably like 6 there, but no, let's just,
let's assume, he's 14 in like US terms.
Let's assume 13, 14 years old. Go back and look at that picture. Not surprising at all. Dude has his shirt off with size, triple D tits. And a look in his face of I'm the man. There was just, he exuded confidence sitting outside on a porch or wherever he was, no shirt, no care in the world. I look at someone like that and say, that guy's got a future ahead of him. Not look what he managed to become despite this. I look at that and all I think is that's the most confident person in the world and he's going to do something with his life.
And also, like, I hadn't thought about it until right now with you saying that, like, standards are different in different countries. Like, the fact that he could, get enough food to look the way he did at whatever age that was, like, fat people used to be like kings.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It was a sign of opulence to be
But I mean, like that, he had a very, like, I don't know, like Serbian, Bosnian. What is he, Serbian?
Serbian, yeah, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I don't know, like when I think
Nurkic
of
is Bosnian, I think. Yeah,
Nurkic
Nurkic
is
is
Bosnian.
Bosnian.
Like
Yeah.
when I think of like people from Serbia and Bosnia, I just think of like really big dudes. And so like in that case, like he looked very at home.
That's a good point. They're all behemoths. He's 7 feet
Right.
tall. He grew into it. Yeah, exactly. Have you seen his siblings? You've seen his brothers.
Yeah, they are not small.
Yeah. The remember they were trying to they almost got in a fight at the arena the one time in that video. I have no problem being like, yeah, you guys got this. I will see you later. And hope that they say okay. Monsters. But yeah, shout out to Nikola Jokic, man. All right. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. I mean, we should be able to clear 100 out of the gate. We got 600 people watching with us already. Happy to have you guys with us. Take a single second. Take that finger or mouth, however you do it. Talking about hitting the thumbs up here. Just a light tap on the thumbs up. And if you hate this show, hit the thumbs down button, but make sure to do it twice and subscribe to the channel. We got 2 games to get into and some interesting spots, to say the least. And I just want to get your take on, just overarching take on the slate, right? And before we look at each team individually, and you got Live Before a Lot coming up next, they'll take all your questions on top of this. They'll break it down a little differently than we do. When you look at Andrew Wiggins today, he's going to play, but when you've got these I've had broken ribs before. I know it's difficult to breathe. It hurts like a bitch. You can play through it, but it's really a pain tolerance thing. How many times have we seen quarterbacks do that? And you can tell that they're in agony with the vests around them. So you've got the whole Wiggins thing. And then you've just got interesting scenarios where, like the New York Knicks, does Josh Hart really only play 9 minutes again? Do these guys, multiple players, play 48 minutes in a game like this? I don't know. I look at this slate and I do think there are some spots. You look at the Lowry and Gabe Vincent minutes as well, and the disparity in ownership. There's a lot of weird spots in this slate that might be exploitable.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting slate too, because for one, you don't have the same. We're back to not having great value. Yesterday was the exception where you had Ayton get ruled out and then Robert Williams start. Not that Landale ended up doing well, but obviously going into the slate, you were expecting him to. Today, you don't really have that. You have, you're back to kind of some more questionable value pieces. But the other thing that I think is really interesting is that, not only is it 2 elimination games, but to some extent, like the Lakers have to kind of be viewing this as their own elimination game as well. Like you certainly don't want to be going back to Golden State. So, like obviously Miami is going to play their guys big minutes, but like when you talk about elimination games and being able to expect, a couple extra minutes from your main guys, I clearly view it that way for the Knicks and the Warriors, but I think you also could potentially get that from the Lakers.
Totally agree. Yeah. If you're the Lakers, the last thing you want to do is have to go back to Golden State after 3 straight. Wait, they were up 3-1, right?
Yes.
Right. They were up 3-1. The last thing you want to do is lose 2 games and go back to Golden State on the road.
Right. Yeah, like being a Caps fan, like especially during the streak where they were always like the best team in the East and then never made it to the finals. Like just being the Lakers and getting to Game 6. Like I remember it from rooting for the Caps. They'd be up 3-0, 3-1, then it's 3-2, and it's just like shit. If they lose this game, like all of the pressure is on them in Game 7. Now, granted, for the Caps, at least it was normally a home game, but like for the Lakers, you're not only do you have all the pressure of like you're about to blow a 3-1 lead, but you also are going to Golden State.
Yeah, for sure. Listen, the Lakers were minus 800 to win this series when they were up 3-1, then minus 450, now minus 235. You know as well as I do, if they lose this game, if the Lakers lose this game, they're going to be like plus 200 to win the series.
Right, they're going to be very big dogs if they lose this game.
They were what, 7.5 point dogs in Golden State? I don't see why that changes at all. Heat minus 450, Celtics minus 285. Now that's swung back. It's amazing how much one game can make a difference, but it does, and it should. You ready to get into some of these games?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Talk about the New York Knicks out of the gate here on the road against Miami. Miami, significant favorites in this spot. 6 points, 205.5 total, by the way. Just a very ugly total, slow-paced game. But the funny thing about the Knicks is that they have guys right now that are playing gigantic minutes. I mean, look at last game. We can dig into this. Josh and I talked about it a lot this morning. Looking forward to getting your take on it. Randall played 36. and all these guys closed, by the way. Brunson played 48 the entire game. Quentin Grimes played 48. Barrett played 38 and got in early foul trouble. Probably could have played around 40, although Josh Hart got in a little foul trouble himself. But still, Hart played 9 minutes off the bench. And then you saw Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein split this 48 center minutes, 26 to 22. If looking at last game, how are you projecting minutes for the Knicks tonight? Because that's going to tell us a lot.
Yeah, and so I think the big takeaways are we once again saw 48 minutes from Robinson and Hartenstein. We had seen Randall get some minutes at the 5 the game before. Not to say he can get 0 here, or that he has to get 0 here, but we once again saw them go to no Randall minutes at the 5. So that was one takeaway that I was interested in seeing. We saw Quentin Grimes play 48 minutes. He had played, I think, 42 in the game before that. It wasn't surprising at all that he played big minutes. 48 obviously was not expected, but you mentioned it. The big thing to me is, and this has happened in both games with Quickly out, what do Josh Hart's minutes look like if he avoids foul trouble? Because in the first game without Quickly, he played the final 15 minutes of the first half, and then he subbed in at the same point basically in the third quarter that he had in the first quarter, played into the second quarter, but he picked up his third, fourth, and fifth fouls over that stretch. So he ended up going back to the bench, didn't sub back in until the end of the game when Julius Randle fouled out. Hart came back until he fouled out. And then last game, he was just in foul trouble right out of the gate, picked up 3 fouls in his first 5 minutes and 33 seconds on the floor. That was all in the first quarter. Didn't come back in the first half. Didn't sub in until the start of the fourth quarter. Picked up another foul, then turned the ball over and went back to the bench for the rest of the game. What happens if Josh Hart avoids fouls and plays reasonably well? Because Josh Hart is capable of playing well. It's not like we're talking about a garbage player here. So I still think Grimes plays a lot, but I'm expecting like on average around 40 minutes from Grimes and like 22 from Hart, which still doesn't make Hart look great at 5,200. But the fact he's getting no ownership is kind of interesting to me.
It is, but last game, the rotations were really weird. Because is it possible that Hart wouldn't have come in until late in the second quarter of that game either? Because while he got in some foul trouble, 3 fouls in that first 5 minutes of his rotation. By the way, he was minus 11 in 9 minutes. Not great. But he came in for Barrett, who got 2 fouls in the first 5 minutes of that game. So he was kind of thrust into action there as well.
Yeah, so the thing that I think is interesting here, when you go back to the game before that, he did sub in later in the first quarter than he did last game, because again, like you said, Barrett got in foul trouble last game. But the rotation was still RJ Barrett played 9 minutes. Hart came in for him. Then at the end of the first or start of the second quarter, Barrett comes back in for Quentin Grimes, plays 5 minutes. Then Grimes comes back in that case for Barrett. I think often it will be for Hart. But I think last game, part of the reason Grimes played 48 minutes was the Hart foul trouble in that and the Barrett foul trouble. But like you would expect, if Barrett's not in foul trouble, I still think Grimes is getting subbed out at the beginning of the second, and you're getting Barrett and Hart out there, and then you're closing with 2 out of the 3 of Grimes, Barrett, Hart. So that's the way I see it. Is like, yeah, Hart subbed in earlier than he would have, but Grimes ended up just never going to the bench because Hart and Barrett both ended up getting in foul trouble.
I think that's very reasonable. It's hard to think that Barrett or that Josh Hart is exclusively just RJ Barrett's backup.
Right.
Which seems odd. All right. So then let's dive into it a little bit. I'm pulling up the Boom Bust tool right now. We just updated it not long ago, like 20 minutes ago. So the ownership coming in on this team, RJ Barrett is the highest owned player on this team right now. And he's got a slightly negative leverage score, 36% ownership, 31% optimal. Then you're looking at Brunson, $9,000. He played 48 minutes last game. I certainly don't think you project him for that, but it's an elimination game. He might play 48 minutes again, at 44, 45 at the least.
Yeah, I have him projected for 45. I think we're at 46. Yeah, like I'm never going to give somebody 48 minutes just because, stuff happens, but certainly expect mid to upper 40s from Brunson.
How much do you like Brunson and Randall today at their respective price points?
I like them both. I'm in the middle of finishing up like a set of lineups here to see exactly like where my exposures would come in. So I'll have that in a little bit, but just looking at the prices, looking at, how many minutes I expect them to play. I do still like getting to them. Brunson in particular, he's 9K pulling 29% ownership, but it's just easy to project him for a ton of minutes. I went 38 on Randall. Certainly think he plays a lot, but expect him to play less than Brunson. And Brunson's also just really, really, really good. Like, that's the thing that kind of keeps getting slept on, it seems like, is, he's just a really good basketball player. So price tag has come up a bit, but still projects ahead of Randall. We have him about 5 points ahead of Randall. They both look fine. There's going to be plays in the Golden State game that look better, but I do like them both. I do prefer Brunson.
You talk about Josh Hart, 22 minutes, potentially not looking great. Another problem with Hart is that what if he doesn't? Like, what if he actually does play fewer minutes than that again? And
right.
That you know what it is for me that makes it difficult is that he hasn't seen his price tag drop that much. He's still more expensive than Quentin Grimes today.
Right. The thing that makes it really, really interesting to me from a tournament standpoint, and I don't know if I'll get to it. I'm interested to see, at basically zero ownership if I get there. But the thing to me is, like, the playing time is really volatile too. We're talking about 22, 24 minutes as like a median projection. And yeah, he might not get there. What if he does just, lose all those minutes again? But also, RJ Barrett is very capable of playing himself to the bench and Hart taking those minutes. Grimes could get in foul trouble. Barrett could get in foul trouble. Like, there's a bunch of ways too, where even if we assume, like, let's assume that I'm right. And like the Knicks plan for this game is, 37 minutes for Barrett, 40 for Grimes, 22 for Hart. Just, for the sake of argument, assume that that's right. There's still so much volatility in, does RJ Barrett play like shit or get in foul trouble? Does Quentin Grimes get in foul trouble? Does Hart just play really well? Where, like, he still has 27, 28, 29-minute games in his range of outcomes. He also has those, 15-minute games.
How do you want to approach the rest of this team? Barrett getting ownership. Hartenstein's played, I think he's got, in this series alone, he had a 21-minute game, 22. I think he pulled a 26-minute game. 26, 26, 22. And then a 15 sandwiched in there, 14 as well. So kind of all over the map, but there is that upside to play those mid 20 minutes, probably low 20s. And then Mitchell Robinson as well. There are a few guys we got to talk about before we move to Miami.
Yeah, I'm interested in Robinson, still pretty inexpensive. Hartenstein also, like, both of those guys, I wouldn't play them together because they're never sharing the floor. Or at least I wouldn't want to play them together very often. But at their price tags, there's still a pretty easy path for one of them to do well. Robinson's only 5K. He's averaged about 26 minutes per game in the series, but could certainly give you more. And even if he plays 26, 27 minutes at 5K, he can, get there. If he plays 26, 27 minutes, you're probably looking at 20, 21 for Hartenstein. At 3,500, that's not terrible, but there's also the obvious upside of if Mitchell Robinson gets in foul trouble and Hartenstein plays 24, 25 minutes instead, you have, a $3,500 center on a slate that doesn't have a lot of cheap value. So they're both pulling 22 to 23% ownership on DraftKings. I think both of those numbers look pretty good. We have Robinson projected to go slightly under owned, Hartenstein going over owned. I don't have any real problems with that. Grimes is sort of just a guy to me. I expect that he'll be a little bit over owned today just because of recency bias. I think he's a perfectly fine play, but again, I'm not expecting 48 minutes because I think it was fluky last game that Hart and Barrett both got in foul trouble. The game before that, Hart again got in foul trouble, or I'm not sure Grimes even plays those 42 minutes. And then, you have him coming off a game where he played 48 minutes and played really well. So probably somebody that people click on a little bit more than they should, but still a perfectly reasonable play, especially with shooting guard, small forward eligibility.
Marquis said, I know Lafayette doesn't like those overs, but I see Brunson over 32.5 points plus rebounds. I never said that. Josh and I this morning and the past week, we're simply saying that when you see someone on PrizePicks given the opportunity to win the $1 million, right? When you see that, every single time it's somebody taking 6 overs. And usually that gives you an idea. Like, could you have a scenario where there's 6 overs that are good that day and those are the best plus EV spots and you want to get to them? Sure. But Adam would agree that when you see someone that only bets overs, especially when a lot of these books and pick'em sites are shading these things to the over anyway, which is why so often on OddsShopper, you see some of the best bets being unders for a lot of these star players, right? Like the Giannis's and the Lucas, because a lot of them are shaded to the over. They know people are going to take them. They hate taking unders. It's a psychological thing. And a lot of people have a block where they don't want to bet those unders.
Yeah. So if I'm understanding what you're saying correctly, because I can't play PrizePicks, so I don't know for sure. But so you're saying, like, if you hit 6 of 6 and like it's unique, basically you win $1 million.
Okay, so here Jordan can put it on the screen. Pull the screen up. PrizePicks is doing a thing now where every day, if someone enters a 6-pick flex play lineup, where it's basically like a 6-player parlay, right? You 25x if you hit all 6. If you hit 5, you 2x. In the 5-pick lineups, if you hit all 5, you 10x. If you hit 4, you do 2x, which is actually a really cool feature. You make money back on 3 of 5 too. But what they're doing is every day of the NBA playoffs, they're randomly selecting someone who has entered a lineup in the 6-pick flex play, and they're giving them another 6-pick flex play lineup, where if they hit all 6, they win $1 million.
Okay. So, but there's still like some sort of advantage to the fewer people that go 6 of 6 is better for you, right?
No, it's all you have to do is submit a lineup, but you just have to submit a card. And then of the entire pool of people who submitted a card, because PrizePicks, you're not playing against the field. So of everybody who submitted a card, they pick one person and then they go, okay, here's a 6-pick flex play card. And let's just to say, I don't know, whatever times 25x equals $1 million. So it's basically worth that much. Basically, think of it this way, like you're winning a ticket on DraftKings or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or a qualifier ticket. So if you hit all 6, you hit 1 million. If you hit 5, you get 80K. If you hit 4, you go 16K. And Josh and I have been looking at these every day because PrizePicks is posting the lineup of the person who got it, like who was selected. What I'm saying is they're all of these people are just taking 6 overs. They never take any unders. Ever.
Oh yeah. And so like you were saying, typically because the public prefers overs, you're just going to get them shaded that way anyway. I thought there was also a component where like you were like the fewer people that won, the more likely you were to get picked kind of thing, which there isn't. But so that's what I was going to add was like, 1, you're right about the shading. And then 2, you also know the public is going to go high or is going to go overs more. So like taking unders makes more sense from a game theory standpoint, but that part doesn't matter. But you're right about the shading. Yeah,
for sure. And by the way, they got the Joel Embiid free square for Sunday, but you can throw it in a lineup for tonight. If you're not on PrizePicks yet, you're getting the $100 first match deposit bonus up to $100. So if you put 100 in, you got 200. Here's the kicker, my friends. Here's the kicker. You're getting a free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum, $120 value. Every tool that we have on the site, top to bottom, ownership, boom bust, player projections for baseball, top stacks, top pitchers, top hitters tool, ownership, MMA, PGA, NASCAR. Even if you don't know those sports, now you have the tools at your disposal. And it doesn't matter if you're playing them in low stakes, high stakes, does not matter. $120 value, free month. Got to use the link in the description or chat. Otherwise, I can't find you. We can't track you to give you the free month. You get the premium Discord for free as well. All of that when you sign up using PrizePicks. They don't do these free squares all the time. They've got one tonight for Sunday. So if you're jumping on there, if you're going to sign up, number 1, take advantage of the deposit bonus. 2, throw that Joel Embiid over a half a point in there. You've already knocked out one leg, whether you're doing 3, 4, 5, or 6. You've already knocked one of them out. Massive, massive advantage, huge plus EV situation, and you're getting a free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum on top of that to use all of our tools, just like Jordan. You got it. I'll show you guys right now. We had a fella that hit us up yesterday, and he goes, the DFS bullet. Projections coming in clutch again with a little money emoji. Guy just took 375 on 375 on a 15 and 280 on an 11. So good stuff to you, man. And use the tools to win money. Free month. Maybe one of you will win $1 million as well. Who knows? All right, check it out. Link in the description and in chat. PrizePicks sponsor the Deeper Dive. Let's talk about the Miami Heat here. On the Heat side, how much do you like Jimmy Butler today at his price point, and considering the fact that he's getting pretty considerable ownership, actually 44%?
Yeah, I think it's fine. I'm getting right around the field on him as well. He's averaged about 41 minutes per game in the series. He played 43 last game, never left the floor in the second half. So I'm expecting 40 plus minutes from him here. Happy to get to him. He's the 3rd highest projected guy. We have him as the 3rd highest projected guy on the slate, behind only Curry and Davis. We actually have him ahead of LeBron, which sure, like I think it's close, but tough to really argue against that, I guess. So either way, 3rd or 4th highest projected guy on the slate. Perfectly happy to get to him. A little bit cheaper than LeBron and Davis and Curry, which is nice. Small forward, power forward eligible is nice. On DraftKings, he's the only one of those top 4 guys that has MPE. So you have a little bit more flexibility with him, which is probably why you're seeing his ownership show up a little bit higher and his optimal percentage also, 46% chance of being optimal, 44% projected ownership in the 150 lineups in the lineups I just created to try and replicate what my lineups would look like if the slate started right now. I got right around 46% Butler on DraftKings. So pretty much in line with the field.
All right. Now we get into other guys like Caleb Martin, $4,100. There is some value. We'll get to that in the next game. A couple spots that we can look at there. And of course, who knows if we want to roll the dice on maybe Wiggins not playing his full allotment of minutes. We can talk about that. But when it comes to Miami, Caleb Martin in a spot where you've just seen him closing out games and playing considerable minutes. They're a little bit volatile for sure. But when you look at it now, he's getting 35% ownership at 4,100 today. Not exactly the most stellar per minute guy in the world, but are you on board with 35%? Because he has a 0.00 leverage score. It looks like ownership is exactly where it should be according to the boom bust tool.
Yeah, this is a kind of interesting one because I do think that Martin is the best of these Miami guys, but in terms of value, but also it's still Caleb Martin. He's probably playing around 27 minutes. This is somebody that I played a lot of last game because the field was projected to play a lot of Max Strus. I went Martin instead. Here you're getting now Martin getting all the ownership. I've really just been trying to get different with these Miami value pieces because there's a lot of in-game volatility where it depends how they're playing. It depends how the game is going. So I do think Martin is a good value. I don't have any real issue with his ownership. I do think he's probably a little bit more popular than he should be compared to some of the other Miami value, but he is a good point per dollar play.
Speaking of that Strus Martin situation, are there any players on this slate that you look at that you are going to play more of because the field is getting to someone that was kind of the direct counterpart, that if they don't get the minutes, if they don't get the run, the guy you're getting additional ownership to or exposure to could come in handy? Yeah,
so I'm not getting a lot of anything else, but I do think it's interesting to talk about. So like if the slate started right now, I'd be over the field on Love. I'd be right around or a little bit over the field on Martin. But I think Duncan Robinson and Max Strus are interesting just because of the low ownership, and they're essentially splitting 48 minutes. So I wrote about this a bit in my NBA article earlier, but if you expect them to play 48 minutes, it becomes really difficult to create a situation where neither of them play enough minutes that you would want to have them at low ownership. Like if Max Strus plays 30 minutes and Robinson plays 18, then that's kind of like the borderline case where like 30 minutes of Strus at 4,900 is fine, but you're not too excited. Same goes for 18 minutes of Robinson at 3,400. But if you start sliding that around, like if you say Max Strus plays 32 or 34, then suddenly he's looking really good. And similarly, if you say he plays 26 and Robinson plays 22, then suddenly he looks really good. Even if you project it for like 46 minutes and say, hey, Wood Highsmith, gets a couple, then the same sort of thing happens where from a median standpoint, it's tough to really like either guy. But at low ownership and knowing that these two have been mutually exclusive in terms of sharing the floor and been combining for 48 minutes in each of the last two games, you can see where there is some volatility there where one of them there's a pretty good chance one of them gets hot from three. And whichever one that is plays a bunch more minutes. Last game, it was Robinson played 22 minutes. Strus only played 26. The game before that, it was like 36 for Strus, 12 for Robinson. It's not like a cut and dry Max Strus is going to play 29 and Robinson's going to play 19. It's more so like if Max Strus is going to get the first shot at knocking down a bunch of threes, and if he does, and then Robinson doesn't, basically match it off the bench, Strus is going to come right back in, and vice versa. If Robinson gets hot and Strus isn't knocking down shots, Robinson can stay out there. So I think it's a difficult like duo to really get to from a projection standpoint, but I do like the idea of just trying to make it happen at least to some extent because there's a pretty good chance that one of them plays enough minutes that you would expect them to pay off their salary.
You see that Guitar Z man 224/7. Thank you very much for all you guys do. Tied for first with one other guy in the DK $4.20 max. $100 super chat, man.
That's awesome. Congrats.
Yeah, man. Congratulations. That's awesome. And totally unnecessary, man, but we appreciate all of that. We really do. That's great to see. Congrats. I see you in here all the time, man. So we love seeing guys, especially the regulars in here, taking down big tournaments like that. Congrats again, dude, and thank you. All right. I guess we can close Miami out here because we got about 30 minutes to go before we flip this over to live before lock. Looking at the rest of this team, Kyle Lowry, 5,200, 30%. How many minutes can we reasonably project him for? It almost seems, it seems scary to give him more than 26 in a spot like this.
Yeah, I mean, I went 28.
Okay.
It's what he's averaged for the series, played 31 last game. But yeah, there's, he's another one where between him and Vincent, there's a lot of volatility there. Now, they will share the floor a bit, but they're probably not going to close together. They're probably not going to play more than a handful of minutes together. So you have Lowry at 5,200 pulling 30%. You have Vincent only pulling 13% at 4,800. I think Lowry projects better. I think he's the better play, but probably not 2.5 times better. If you look at optimal percentage, we have Vincent at 21%. We have Lowry at 30. So, basically 2-1 in terms of optimal versus it, 2-1 in Lowry's favor. 1.5-1 in Lowry's favor. In terms of optimal percentage, but like 2.5-1 in terms of ownership. Don't mind using Vincent as a pivot in larger field stuff, but Lowry's the one that's going to project a little bit better.
I think you were right. 2-1. Isn't it 36-12?
I see 30-20.
Oh, you know what?
Did I not refresh?
36-12 would be 3-1 anyway, wouldn't
it? Yep. But yeah, I see Lowry at 30% optimal, Vincent 21, and then 30% ownership for Lowry, 12 for Vincent.
Yeah, I had to refresh. Okay. All right. Anything else for Miami?
We didn't specifically mention it, but Bam Adebayo is a perfectly solid play at 7,600. Should play, 38 minutes or so, barring foul trouble. Center only on DraftKings. Price tag's fine. So yeah, he's good. Nothing crazy in either direction as far as like thinking he's a great player or a bad player or anything.
Golden State Warriors. All right. 2.5 point dogs against the Lakers tonight. I mean, this is the game everyone's waiting to see. Let's be completely honest with ourselves. Even Knicks fans probably more interested in this. No, I'm kidding. Knicks fans, Heat fans, you got something to root for here. But the Warriors-Lakers game, far more enticing. By the way, 40 likes away from 200. We got 1,200 people with us right now. As far as ratios go, likes to viewers, I think we got to pull some weight around here. We got to put this north of 200. Por favor. All right. Stephen Curry, 31. Listen to this ownership for this team tonight. I'll actually start at the top. Gary Payton, 61%. This is on DraftKings. Klay Thompson, 32%. Steph Curry, 31%. And then you've got Dre at 28, Andrew Wiggins at 21. Wiggins was a lot higher in ownership early in the day before we updated, I think, for these injury concerns. That has to play a role here, don't you think?
Yeah, I have no idea how to quantify it, but yes. I went 36 minutes on him. I think we're at 35 or 36. If without the injury concerns, I'm probably going like 37, 38. But yeah, I mean, no idea how to quantify how or if it affects his play. The best way I could do that was to kind of err on the side of lower minutes, I guess. But yeah, I don't just like I didn't know how to deal with it with Jamal Murray yesterday. I don't know how to deal with it for Wiggins.
Yeah, I said Josh and I said the same thing this morning. There's no way to quantify it. That's just the truth. But it does bother me a little bit to think that he might not be close to 100%. And I can't imagine, you're a quarterback. Your quarterback has this injury, and I'm using that because quarterbacks suffer this injury all the time when they get hit. A quarterback, when he's not getting hit, especially a pocket passer, kind of statuesque guy, you're not constantly moving and breathing heavily as much as a basketball player is. If you're Wiggins, you're just up and down the court for what, like 40 minutes that he's probably going to play. And then I can't imagine the shooting motion doesn't hurt as well. Maybe I'm just reading too far into it, Adam. I possibly, because I don't actually know. I'm just thinking of all the ways this could go wrong with an injury like that. It doesn't sound like it feels good.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I mean, I would I certainly don't feel good about Wiggins, but also this is basically the same thing we talked about with Murray yesterday, where not only is it very difficult to quantify other than to say whatever Andrew Wiggins' projection was, if he's 100%, his actual projection now is somewhere below that, whether it's by 1/10 of a point or 5 points. I don't know. But also the ownership is affected. Somebody in chat yesterday said, that's bullshit. The ownership will be fine. And then Jamal Murray was like 11% owned. Whatever Andrew Wiggins like normal ownership would be on this slate is going to be at least somewhat lower because people have the concerns that we're talking about right now. So it's very difficult to quantify both sides, because even if you firmly believe, like for whatever reason, you have a ton of confidence that Andrew Wiggins is not capable of playing basketball at his normal level today, there's still an ownership standpoint where you don't really care. Like if you're like, oh, well, he's definitely going to be worse, and I know he projects 3 points less, but then you're like, oh, like you find out that literally nobody else is going to play him, you'd still play him. So like the point is, it's a sliding scale in both directions, and you can't quantify either one.
You're right. It's also possible that he just gets a Toradol shot,
right,
and makes it through the game. Like, you know, not even tongue in cheek. I'm serious. It's very possible that they just hit him with something and then suffer the consequences later, because you can't treat those type of injuries anyway. Like there's nothing to do. You just time.
Right,
let me get to a couple. What's that?
I said, right. It's a pain thing.
Yeah, just a pain tolerance thing. Beaten cheeks. $25 super chat. Thanks, man. Stochastic Crew's the best in the business. Thanks, fellas. Keep up the good work. Appreciate you, dude. Again, highly unnecessary, but greatly appreciated. Thank you to Beaten Cheeks. What do you think that means, Adam?
I don't know. Never heard that saying before.
I don't know if I've heard the term. I mean, clearly we know what it means. I don't know if do you use the phrase beaten cheeks?
I don't, but like I definitely heard it a million times. Like it's definitely a phrase.
Can you use it in context, please, so I can understand?
No, I don't think I can.
Why? You clearly haven't been watching the strategy show with me and Josh. Don't worry. If anything we said were to get us in trouble, Josh and I would be very long gone by now.
Yeah, that's fair.
But thank you, Cheek Beater. Let's also some gifted memberships. Hannah Banana gifted 5 of them. Thank you, Hannah. All that underdog money she's got rolling in. Malachor gifted 5 DFS memberships. Woo, man, coming in hot. Oh, Beaten Cheeks joined on his own. You can hit that down below as well. This dude just coming in hot. And then Guitar Man gifted 10 subs, 10 memberships. Thank you, guys. Man, what a lively. It's Friday. Everyone's in a good mood. Everyone's just being friendly, and it's a good feeling. All right. Josh, hold on. What are you laughing at?
What's happening, Josh?
All right. Thanks, guys. Make sure that if they gifted you a membership too, they gifted you a sub, make sure to shout them out. Say thank you, because that's a very nice thing to do. All right. Where else are we? Wait, did we just get another one? I gotta scroll on this, Jordan, up top. I gotta scroll because all of these are coming in. All right. Let's we're good. Yeah. How do you feel about 61% owned Gary Payton today?
It's really high, but also if the slate started right now, I'd be getting more. The reason that I think he's showing up so much is that he's still only 4,300. So like you had Quentin Grimes jump all the way to 5,100 or so. Payton's still coming in at 4,300. Playing time was still there last game. I have him in for around 26 minutes. I think that's a pretty reasonable projection. Not the not a high usage guy, but just out there enough. Can get defensive stats, scores around the basket a lot. They'll give him open threes if he wants them. So still just ends up projecting well, grading out well. We have him 61% owned, but also 54% chance of being optimal. The thing to keep in mind there too is that he is shooting guard small forward. So this is certainly one of those spots where he only has like a 9.5% boom percentage in the boom bust tool. He's not super likely to put up a score at 4,300 that you have to have by itself. It's just that price tag and those positions make it so easy for him to just be a part of what ends up being the best lineup. The lineup's going to be carried by whatever combination of Curry, Thompson, LeBron, Davis, Brunson, like all of those guys. But kind of like no matter which couple of guys at the top really go off, you can very easily throw Quentin Grimes or throw Gary Payton in there to offset some of the cost, and you can play him at almost every position. So it's just how easy it is to get him into lineups is really making him look useful.
Kind of have a gut feeling today. Don't take this for anything. That Klay Thompson just has one of those patented Klay Thompson 1 every 10 games type performances.
Is that game 6?
What's that?
Is that because it's game 6?
No, just because it's been a little quiet. I don't know. 6,800. it's intriguing to me for a couple of reasons. The first one really just being that last game, Klay Thompson, Klay Thompson's been a guy that throughout the season, they made sure to kind of keep bubble wrap on him. I know that he started seeing more playing time as the season went on. And a lot of the Golden State Warriors weren't seeing like monster minutes, but 41 minutes, then 37 minutes last game. He was pacing 40 before the blowout. You look at it, the last 3 games for Klay Thompson have been wildly underwhelming. His shot volume, his usage has been very low. He doesn't get to the line. He relies on threes, but you're still getting 40 minutes from Klay Thompson, which is always very interesting to me because you know what he's capable of doing, particularly on a 2-game slate.
Yeah, for sure. And he's getting a lot of ownership for that reason, and I think he should. Shooting guard, 6,800, 32% ownership, 34% chance of being optimal. If the slate started right now, I'd be getting around 32%. So basically right on with the field. But yeah, I'm with you. Like I expect 39, 40 minutes or so from him. He's going to get opportunities. It's just a matter of, does he get out or not?
Yeah. And by the way, Dutch Master, I never said he was due. I'm saying that the ceiling for a guy like Klay Thompson, especially if you're getting 40 minutes out of him, is always significant. And sometimes I thought it was going to happen the other day. He had 15 points in the first quarter. Fortunately, it didn't because I had the under on his PRA. And he just completely went comatose in the last final 3 quarters of that game. Good for me, I guess. Anyway, Steph Curry, among the 4 top tier players today, how do you prioritize Curry? Among Davis, Curry, James, and Butler, they're all separated by only $600 from top to bottom.
Yeah, and they're all really close, I think, in terms of range of outcomes and projection as well. If the slate started right now on DraftKings, Davis would be my highest owned of those 4, followed by Steph, followed by LeBron. Wait. Butler was the 4th, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it would be Davis 1 at like 60%, Butler and Curry both between 35 and 40%, and then LeBron at like 25%.
What about the rest of this team with Poole, with Looney? I mean, I don't know what to project Looney for at this stage of the game. Wiggins is expected to play, so we don't have to talk too much about some of these other guys that would have soaked up some of those vacated minutes. But Draymond Green, Poole, and Kevon Looney, that's pretty much where it ends for this team, unless you're getting trace amounts of somebody like Dante DiVincenzo. Where are you going with Poole today and Looney? Will you have any Looney today, just in the event that he gets additional run?
Yeah, so when I wrote my article earlier, he was getting like 4% ownership and DiVincenzo was getting like 15. I thought Looney was really interesting then. Now I think he's okay, but I think the ownership is pretty much where it is where it should be. I'm not getting much, if any, if the slate started right now. The thing with Looney is they're still not playing him many minutes alongside Draymond. He did play a few alongside him last game, and that's how he was able to get to 20 minutes. But so like even, if you assume he's playing 18 to 20 minutes, he's still at a price tag where it's pretty tough to get there. The thing that makes him appealing, though, is if Draymond were to get in foul trouble or get ejected or get hurt or any combination of the 3, we know he's capable of all of it. Looney immediately becomes like a tournament winner because he's just getting those minutes, and we know Looney's a point per minute guy when he's out there. So the production should be there. It's just a matter of where do the minutes come from, and not seeing him playing many minutes alongside Draymond. But there are ways for him to get there. All the stuff with Draymond, but also like what if Andrew Wiggins does just not play as many minutes tonight? He can't. Let's say he just can't play through it. Then the Warriors in that case don't necessarily have the luxury of only having one of Draymond or Looney on the floor together. Like they almost have to share the floor a bit more. And so there's that path as well. So at 12% owned, I think he's fine. Like I don't think he's under-owned, over-owned. It's kind of where he should be. When he was 4% earlier, I was a lot more interested. Poole's interesting to me, averaging about 20 minutes per game in the series, but he's only 4,500, and he's at least somebody where he's going to go out there and look for his shots. And if you get one of those random games that he actually makes some of them, he can play more minutes. It's not like, he has to go back to the bench for any of, Moody or DiVincenzo or Looney or anything. Like he could just get 24 minutes, in which case he looks really good. So I'm somewhat interested in Poole just for the upside at a cheap price tag.
Time to talk about the LA Lakers. Got a couple super chats though. That 125 just lingering up there. You love to see it. We had two actually from Michael Bernier. I remember this last time, and I said Bernier, and he said you did it properly in English and in French. So I'm going to go with Bernier. but also Bernier. I got 80% Peyton and Walker. Too much. I guess he's asking, is that too much, Adam? Wait, hold on a second. Yeah, 80% Peyton and Lonnie Walker.
I mean, if the slate started right now on DraftKings, I would have 90% Walker and 89% Peyton. So I hope not.
And another one for Michael Bernier. Just to let you know, lineup generator, great, using MLB now too. Nice, dude. Yeah, I love to see that. Love to hear that, as a matter of fact. We had someone win 15K tweet us with the lineup generator just yesterday. LX Foley, $15,000. Huge win using the lineup generator data. That was the NBA lineup generator. We just launched the MLB lineup generator this week, like 3 days ago. It's awesome. I mean, you saw what we did with the NFL one, where you could legitimately you could set up the game flow for showdowns. It was amazing, right? We had so many different features with that. MLB is brand new, but we already have, you can set your stack types, whether you want to do a 5-2-1, a 5-3, a 4-4. You can do tournament, you can do cash, you can lock players in, you can swap players out, save as many lineups as you want, discard as many lineups as you want. It really is. I don't think there's a better tool out there for someone right now that might not have the time every single day to be able to research all of the time. It's the best, most affordable tool out there for someone that might only be playing a few bucks a day. Your first week is $4.48 for MLB or for NBA. So even if you haven't tried either of them, wanted to exploit that free half off first week, that's NBA and MLB lineup generator for less than $9 a week. And yeah, as you can see with LX Foley, man, $15,000 using the lineup generator, less than $450. Even if you're playing $2 a day, think about it. Like $2 a day, every day, $14. Let's say just in MLB, spending $4 and less than $4.50 on a week just to do this and to optimize your approach. And Adam, the good thing about this, you're getting the optimal score, you're getting the optimal percentage, you're getting ownership percentage, you're getting the projection on all those lineups. You can upload them to CSV, and of course, it's optimized for mobile. But I think the nicest thing to know about this is the lineups, Adam, that it's spitting out at you aren't just random lineups. Like, we've already sorted it out and thrown all of the bad lineups in the garbage. You're only getting the ones that project well.
Yeah, exactly. And like I was talking about it on the strategy show with Neil this morning. One of the most difficult things, whether you're new or not to DFS, is, it's one thing to say like, okay, like I think I can create lineups that project well, lineups that are good in that sense, just using projections. But then it's a whole other process that, one, is time consuming, and two, is difficult to figure out what of these good lineups are the ones, are actually good for DFS, for larger field tournaments or small field tournaments, whatever you might be playing. And the lineup generator just does all of that for you. Like, Josh and I talk a lot about, building lineups in Fantasy Cruncher and then taking them out and doing stuff to, rank them and figure out what we're going to play.
Sort them.
Yeah, sort them. That's essentially what this is doing on the back end. And then it's just spitting out to you lineups that come out near the top as good lineups. So like, it's doing a lot of work on the back end to make sure that you're getting quality lineups.
Do you remember the days where you really could just know the sport and play the lineups that projected the best and win a lot of money?
Yeah. I mean, I remember the days where not even using projections, I could just sit down and by hand make 20 lineups that were all very close to optimal and just make money.
Those days are long gone. Now the ownership factor plays such a heavy role. It's no longer just build the best lineup on paper.
Right.
So check it out. Link in the description and in chat. Baseball or basketball or both. If you want to do both, it's less than $9. We don't have a bundle, but you just click both of those links. And if you have any questions, you guys know I'm always happy to help you out. My DMs are open on Twitter at Lofty_D. All right, let's wrap this one up. We'll turn it over to Live Before Lock after this. Who do we have? Greg and Neil today? Greg Ehrenberg, Neil Orfield, Player Q DFS coming up next. Let's go to the Lakers. Is Anthony Davis your favorite top-tier play today?
Yeah, like I said, he's showing up at the top for me, coming in around 60% of the lineups that I would be playing if the slate started right now. I'm like I said earlier, I'm expecting big minutes from the Lakers today. Obviously you're expecting big minutes anyway, but like I'm expecting them to more or less approach this as an elimination game, do everything they can not to have to go back to Golden State. Last game, you got 32 minutes from Davis, but that was the game where he got hurt. And then you also, had garbage time. He wasn't coming back anyway. The game before that, he played 43 minutes. I'm not expecting him to be limited here. I think expecting 40, 41 minutes from him is very reasonable. Same goes for LeBron, but Davis just, the better point per minute guy, has a favorable matchup inside against this Golden State team. There's not a lot they can do to stop him as long as he's going to be aggressive. That has been, the issue for him at times in this series, is just sort of not being as aggressive as he should, but the upside is massive for him. The projection, projects really well. So yeah, he looks great to me. LeBron looks good, but Davis is my favorite payoff option.
The backcourt here has been an interesting one all series long, really all postseason, between Russell, between Austin Reeves and Dennis Schroeder. Today, you've got Russell 44%, Reeves at 39% ownership. I'm looking at the boom bust tool, by the way, for those of you wondering. Over on Stochastic. Dennis Schroeder, 32%. If you look at, though, the optimal score, it's Dennis Schroeder, actually, who has, the least negative leverage. It's not like Reeves is bad in that sense, 32% optimal, 39% ownership. Russell's at 44% ownership, 33% optimal. Do you have a definitive preference between those, or do you have two of three that you really like? I mean, looking at this trio of guards here for LA, is there anyone that you just have a lot less of or a lot more of than the field right now?
Schroeder is the one I have a lot less of, which I don't totally love because he is getting good minutes. He's playing, he's $4,200. He looks like a good value piece. He is going a bit over-owned, so that's probably why I'm not getting as much. Russell's also projected to go a bit over-owned, but I'm still getting to like 50%. That'll probably come down a little bit, but at 6,100, I'm concerned because he hasn't played that well in the last couple of games, but also he hasn't really lost minutes in those games either while not playing well. So that's nice. Did lose some minutes to foul trouble last game and then garbage time. Still got 30, but if things go according to plan, he's probably getting like 32 to 34. I like Reeves at 5,800. I don't really have any problems with that ownership. I'm right around the field. As weird as it feels to say, Reeves' minutes seem the most secure. He just can be on the floor in a variety of lineups. He does a lot of things well that they need. And he, clearly has made massive improvements this year. So 5,800 for him looks pretty good. Lonnie Walker is the guy I'm getting to the most. I mentioned that a minute ago, but 3,700 shooting guard, small forward. The last three games, you're at 24, 27, 28 minutes, something like that. Including, and could have played more minutes had the last game been competitive. He's stepped up. He's played a big role for them, adding, bench scoring that they need. There's no real reason to think he's not going to continue being a big part of the rotation. So shooting guard, small forward, 3,700. I think he looks great still.
Yeah, Josh said he has, in chat, has 88% Lonnie Walker right now. How much are you getting to as it stands?
91.
Okay, so just a ton of Lonnie Walker today.
Yeah,
I assume your highest owned player or exposed
Yeah, he's
player.
just edging out Gary Payton right now.
What do you have Payton at?
89.
Okay.
I did just kind of adjust some stuff and I'm rerunning everything, so it might change in a couple minutes. But either way, I expect them to be two of my highest owned guys.
Do you think there's anything to salvage at this point with a Rui or with a Vanderbilt who's Vanderbilt, this has not been a good series for him at all. He is, he against Memphis, he was perfectly fine. He didn't play a lot of minutes, but he wasn't a liability. In this series, it's been really tough for him. He's played 15, 11, and 11 minutes over his last three games. He hasn't hit a field goal since game 2. I mean, it's not like it matters because he's only attempting one or two of them per game. He's not getting boards. The block shots are few and far between, and now the minutes are in the gutter. So I just really don't know what to make of somebody like Vanderbilt, who was pretty popular early in the postseason. He's getting phased out of this rotation by the day.
Yeah, on the one hand, you look and it's just he's really cheap. And if he just randomly plays 20 minutes, he ends up being a really good value. But it's just hard to figure out where those minutes are coming from because it's not like they've been a good team with him on the floor in this series. You've seen his minutes essentially disappear since Lonnie Walker joined the rotation. He hasn't played a minute alongside Schroeder in at least 2 games. I think it's been more than that. So you've just seen the Lakers clearly going to these lineups they prefer with Schroeder out there, with Lonnie Walker out there. At this point, it would take a massive change in the rotation for Vanderbilt to end up being a good fantasy play. And it's just really difficult to come up with why they would make that change when units with him on the floor haven't been particularly good this series. So unless you're if you want to just roll the dice and say I don't know what the reason's going to be, but maybe he plays 20 minutes and does well, great. Sure, he's low owned and he's cheap, but it's really hard for me to come up with how that happens.
Do you feel the same way about Rui?
A little bit less with Rui, just because we've been seeing more minutes from him, and he does at least contribute offensively,
Right.
whereas Vanderbilt doesn't. And so, Rui can go out there and just play well offensively and play 20, 22 minutes instead of, 16 or 18. So I would get to Rui before I get to Vanderbilt.
Anybody? I think we covered mostly everybody for the Lakers. Is there anyone else that I haven't hit on or you haven't hit on that you think is worth talking about here?
I think I think that's everybody.
All right. Who do you got winning these games tonight? You got Miami, right? I assume.
Yeah, Miami and Lakers.
You do have the Lakers. All right.
I mean, I hope so.
Yeah. I asked Josh this morning. He said Golden State, but it took him a while to answer. It wasn't a confident Golden State.
Yeah, I still have the Lakers Western Conference ticket, so I'm just hoping for the Lakers.
What'd you get it at?
So I had 17-1, and then I got it again at like 25. But then I cashed out the 25 for like even money when LeBron got hurt at the end of the season, because I didn't actually think he was going to come back as quick as he did.
17's nice.
Yeah, it's not bad.
But just to go to the finals?
Yeah, just to win the Western Conference.
Nice. That's not bad at all. Matter of fact.
The Nuggets look a hell of a lot better than I thought they were going to. So
yeah, but you're in a good spot. If they win this
right.
tonight, you're 17-1 and they're in the Western Conference Finals,
right.
You could be a lot worse off than that.
Right, yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. I mean, let's say I want to win the West now, they're probably, let's see. I don't even know if they have that. They should. No, they just have no. Okay, conference winner. Lakers to win the West are plus 185.
Right.
So I mean, less than 2-1.
Yeah, and I mean that'll obviously drop considerably if they lose tonight, but it still won't get to 17-1.
Yep, but if they win tonight,
right?
What do you think that'll be if they win tonight? I'm not sure how much it moves.
What'd you say it was right now?
Plus 185. I'd say probably plus 120. I think it'd be pretty close with Denver.
Yeah, I do think that. I've been really impressed with Denver. I think the line probably opens closer than it should.
Me too. Right. I think it'll move to like plus 120, plus 130. Will be interesting to see. Nuggets are minus 135, but they're already there. Now they just got to take on whoever the next opponent is. But anyway, appreciate you guys hanging out as always. Hey, thanks for all the super chats, all the gifted memberships to our community. That stuff goes a long way. You guys have a great weekend. Josh and I will see you here on Sunday. Not sure what time. I got to look at that. Sunday for Live Before Lock. You got Greg and Neil coming up next for this Live Before Lock. A great night, win some money. And if you want to hang out, Greg and I will be in chalkboard tonight, shooting the shit, sweating bets, DFS, all that good stuff. Link in the description. It's entirely free. All the picks, all the conversation. We're almost at 2,000 members already, thanks to you guys. Awesome app where you can sync all your sports books. A lot of DFS talk in there as well. And all the box scores are built into it. I don't need to say much more. Come join us and say hello. Very welcoming community. I think you'll enjoy it there. And if not, you can bounce. It's free. Anyway, we'll see you guys back here very shortly. Stick around. Live Before Lock coming up next. Peace. Yo, it's that time of week again. Time to induct some of you fine people into the Stochastic Hall of Fame. Give away a whole lot of free memberships. $120 value, by the way. Stochastic Plus Platinum. All you got to do to get your name up here in all its glory, get that free month, download the Stochastic Avatar at stochastic.com/avatar and use it wherever it is you play. Then when you win, finish top 3 even in a field of 5,000 or more. Tweet those wins to us at Stochastic HOF on Twitter. Get your free month, get inducted. Let's get into it. For the new week, we kick it off with Mr. 586 or Mr. Woods 586. These are, I think I enjoy doing these the most because you're not playing a lot of volume every day, maybe not the biggest bankroll, but you turn 35 cents into, what was it, $600 something here for Mr. Woods. 35 cents. Gets a free month out of doing that just because he's rocking the Stochastic Avatar. Shout out to you, man. You got the subscription the entire month now off of 35 cents. First place out of 133,000. Just monstrous. And Alexis Sarah, another one We had 2 of these this week. I'm telling you, these are feel-good stories right here. Just want to say thank you for the great show every day. Lafayette and Josh and Engleman always make me laugh in the morning show. Love to hear that. Finally got first. How about this? $2.72, $1,700 for Wink Chester, rocking the avatar, got the free month, up here Hall of Fame. So between the 2 of them, $3 into what? $2,400 off of $3. Massive ROI and the free month. Then Hollywood Chop coming in hot with at Stochastic Hall of Fame. First time using Stochastic. Yeah, not a bad day for your first time. Second place single entry in the 4-point play. $7,500 for Hollywood Chop. Monster win there. And our best friend Jorge, always making it rain in chat with those free Stochastic memberships. We appreciate you for that. Finally, after being weeks on top 10 or 50, today got first place in the $1 mini-max. Thanks to Stochastic and as well for the team in today's show with valuable information. First place, $2,000. Little MLB action for Jorge. Congrats, dude. How about Rick Bunning? Second tweet, second Hall of Fame induction. Let's go. Thanks for the great tools at Stochastic. Kudos to Josh Engleman as well on the campaign fade third place, in the 30K jab step on DraftKings. And then you've got D-Fick. Who knew Jokic, Harden, and Tatum could fit in the same lineup? Thanks, Lafayette and Josh. First place in the end one, $1,500. Another free month for our boy D-Fick. And as always, you see it every week on an absolute heater, a huge tear. We're literally running promos because of this man right here, Steve Buzzard, the Colts. Another, ho-hum $100,000 win here in MLB. Keep it going, Steve. Massive heater, biggest I can remember seeing for sure. And our own Eddie Lai as well. How about it? Our CFO, then the CTO, $50,000 in MLB from Eddie. Just some flex emojis there coming from Eddie on Twitter. And Alex Baker, Awesemo himself. Big week for these boys. It's not about how much money you win for first place. It's about the friends you make along the way. First place chop for Awesemo himself, $11,000 there. A little NASCAR action, taking that one down. And we'll close it out with a little betting one because the Odd Shopper tools, be it the Parlay Builder or Odd Shopper Premium, have just been crushing lately. Fun night, Odd Shopper Hall of Fame. Hello, my friend. We'll throw it in this one. Why not? Because News God is our guy. El Negro Loco, you know him from chat. 4 big parlay hits on small wagers, making a massive ROI and closing out our Hall of Fame for this week. Remember, all you got to do, download the Stochastic Avatar at stochastic.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at Stochastic HOF and get that free month. Get inducted into the Hall of Fame. Welcome to all of you, and welcome back to those of you who have been here before.
What is happening, everybody? I hope you're almost ready for the weekend. And there's not going to be any basketball today. There is today. There's not going to be any basketball tomorrow. I know what I'm talking about. Tomorrow, there are no basketball games. So I have Saturday off work for the first time ever. Really? The last time I had a Saturday off work was probably in 2022. It's been a minute, or maybe during the All-Star break at some point. That aside, for today, we've got a 2-game NBA slate to talk about, hopefully to hold you over for a couple of days until Sunday rolls around. So as you guys come in, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we are sponsored today by PrizePicks. And if you guys haven't checked out PrizePicks, a couple reasons to do so. Number one, on Sunday, they have a free square available to you, and you could build that into your PrizePicks cards for today. Over 0.5 points for Joel Embiid. That's going to win. You think he scores a point on Sunday, Neil? I know it's a couple days away, so I don't have the projections ready, but safe to say?
I'd say it's greater than 50% odds, yeah.
So on Sunday, Joel Embiid over 0.5 points. And if you guys want to take advantage of this, sign up using the link we have below over to PrizePicks. That is going to get you up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit and 1 free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. And now, Neil, you and I have got tonight's slate to talk about. We've got 2 games. And do you think either of these series are going to see a game 7? Because we have the Lakers at home, favored by 3 against the Warriors. We've got the Heat at home, favored by 6.5 if the Heat and the Lakers both win, those series both end. Do you think any of the underdogs pull off the upsets to extend the series, or do the favorites win out and end the series?
Yeah, I think the Warriors win this one. What I want to happen is I want the Lakers to win and I want the Knicks to win. But I do think the Warriors push the series to 7 games.
All right. And what is the impetus for you wanting them to win?
My so rare cards. I've got LeBron and AD.
All right, that's a reasonable enough reason. I thought there'd be something else like
no.
Just that.
It is. I mean, it is Jimmy Butler is the reason I want the Heat to lose. I'm not a Jimmy Butler fan. The way he left Minnesota, I've chosen Jimmy Butler as my NBA villain, even though I think I would probably like him. Like if I ever actually met him, I've chosen him as my NBA villain. So I cheer against the Heat.
All right, fair enough. But for today, well, I guess another reason also you're rooting for the Knicks here to extend the series. And as people are pointing out online, which I don't know what the implication is supposed to be, but Scott Foster is reffing the game. So some people think that means the Heat are locks to win. Some people think that means the Knicks are locks to win. I tend to think the players will be determining the games, but that's a hot take on Twitter these days. If you say that the players are more important than the refs, people are up in arms over that kind of take. But that is what I feel. I think the players are more important than the refs, even if it is Scott Foster reffing the game. I'm with you, by the way. I think that the Miami Heat end up winning. And did you pick the Warriors?
I did pick the Warriors.
I'm going to go with the Lakers. The Warriors have been really terrible on the road this year. And something else which is going to impact our slate today, and another tie into your Minnesota Timberwolves. And I think it's a good place to start. And if you guys have any questions, leave us a super chat at me in the Discord channel. What do you think of Andrew Wiggins today, who seems to be dealing with a fairly significant injury? All reports indicate he's going to try to play through it. But if you look at the betting lines, for instance, player props, Andrew Wiggins, this shows you how people are betting it. Andrew Wiggins opened with an over-under of 17.5 points. That has been bet down to 13.5, Neil. How concerned should we be about this injury to Andrew Wiggins, and how is it going to impact your lineups? I think it's the biggest storyline of the night.
I agree, and I hate it because it obviously impacts what we're doing with the early game as well. I think that he starts. I think that Andrew Wiggins starts the game and plays. I have no idea if he can play a full game, if he can tough it out. My guess would be that he plays. I think the likeliest scenario is that he plays his full allotment of minutes, but I think that there's extreme risk here. But it's such a hard situation to try to decipher because I don't know what Andrew Wiggins' pain tolerance is. I don't know how much pain it sounds like he's probably in a good amount of pain. And I don't know like what can happen during the game, like with a rib injury, like is he just going to get, hit in the ribs at some point and then he's just taken out of the game? It's such a hard situation to really have any really strong take on. Do you have any stronger take than I have here?
No, I feel about the same as you. It's hard to know exactly. Like yesterday, for instance, I bet a bunch of unders on Jamal Murray, and I just from the standpoint of, all right, if we assume the opening line is fair and then he's sick, it would just made sense to me to be on the unders in that spot. And I do think it's kind of indicative of what at least the sentiment is, the fact that you rarely see a line movement like this that isn't driven by a player who's was expected to be out, that's ruled in, or vice versa. You very rarely see a player who's expected to play and just their points prop goes from a 17.5 to a 13.5. And by the way, anybody who bet the under 17.5, I do think that was a really sharp bet to be on. So I have to think this is going to limit him. And I'm kind of curious to see too. It's one of those ones that it's so hard to project for. I tend to think he's going to come in way under to what his ownership projections are, because who wants to click on that button?
Yeah.
So
especially at 6,600.
Yeah, I got to him in 5% of my lineups. We haven't projected for 21% ownership on DraftKings. FanDuel, he's projected for 31%. Here's my strongest take on the Wiggins situation. He's going to come in underweight to the field on his projected ownership.
I agree. I don't know that he's going to come in. I think you're going to be light at 5% probably, but I agree that he's going to be underweight to 21%.
Yeah, so we'll see what ends up happening with that kind of scenario. My expectation is that he plays and he gives it his best go. And I think if this was anything other than an elimination game for the Warriors, if this was a game one, I don't think Wiggins plays. If this is a regular season game, I don't think Wiggins plays. The only reason I think that he is playing is because this is a game 6 elimination game. If it wasn't for that, I think that he would be out today. So I'm going to be undercutting the field on Andrew Wiggins because I have minimal confidence in his health. And it seems like a fairly severe injury. Cracked cartilage in your ribs.
And I feel it's worth adding that, like, yes, I agree with you. Like, he's only playing because it's a playoff game. I also think that means that it's likelier that he does exit during the game because he can't I'm going to give it a go, but then like it does make it likelier that it is a more significant injury than he would be playing with in the regular season.
I totally agree. And the other thing too is when you see players play through an injury in the regular season, because those get, it's an 82 game NBA regular season. There aren't that many games that are super high leverage. If a player is playing in a regular season game that's, not all that important, it stands to reason that even if they're on the injury report, they're at close to full health.
Yep.
In the playoffs, though, there's so much more wiggle room because these games are so high importance. There's so much that matters on this one individual game that from Wiggins' standpoint, he's like, hey, I'm going to give it a go, see how I feel. He might play 5 minutes today. He might go out, play one rotation, be like, well, this really fucking hurts. I can't deal with the pain and I'm not effective. And they just take him out. So a lot of variance here, a very wide range of outcomes. And I am not going to be on Andrew Wiggins today. So hopefully he doesn't go out and have a big game. But let's start answering some of your guys' questions that you have here, starting with Ace of Spade. What question do you think Ace of Spade might have for us here, Neil?
Probably wants to know about Eric's tiers. Or just DK tiers, I guess.
He does want to know about DK tiers. And by the way, somebody added me and you on Twitter. I don't know if you saw this. Back-to-back Joe on Twitter said loving the tier. So yesterday, Joe had $27 in entries, ended up returning $220.50. Pretty good return there for back-to-back Joe. Thank you for tweeting at us. And by the way, if anyone wants to be in the Stochastic Hall of Fame, here's an easy way to do it. You just download the avatar. You put that as your avatar on DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo, wherever you play. And then the hard part is finishing at the top of a GPP. That's the hardest part of the entire equation. Everything else is cake. Winning a GPP, that is the harder part. But if you have the Stochastic avatar as your avatar on whatever DFS site you play on, and you finish first, second, or third without ties in a GPP, at us at Stochastic HOF on Twitter. We get to do stuff like with Back-to-Back Joe, feature you on the show, and then also 1 free month of Stochastic Plus Platinum. So, Ace of Spade, you are correct, by the way. He asked us about DK tiers. I am pulling that up right here. Tier 1 for me, I'm going with Anthony Davis. Now, with that said, you can make a case for AD, Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, or LeBron James in Tier 1. My number one overall option here is Anthony Davis. I'm curious, Neil. And this, doesn't have to be specific to tiers. I kind of think it encompasses the entire slate as a whole. Do you have a preferred pay-up option tonight?
Interesting. Probably Anthony Davis.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. AD, and once again, I have it fairly close. Like AD's a little bit above these guys. It's like if I look through my tiers lineups, it's like I got to mid 30% of Anthony Davis. And then it's like low 20s for Curry, Butler, and LeBron, all of them really close together. So AD like a little bit above them, but nothing like crazy significant. Tier 2 for me is Jalen Brunson, who played 48 minutes in the Knicks last game. And you have to think he's live to do it again. They're playing against the Heat, obviously same game as they had last time. And Jalen Brunson in a must-win game for the Heat, for the Knicks against the Heat. Tibbs never took him off the court. So I think it's live to happen again, 48 minutes for Jalen Brunson. So I like him the most in tier 2. Tier 3, a really tight one. I'm going to go with Draymond Green, though. My least favorite is Wiggins just because of his injury situation. Tier 4 for me is Kyle Lowry. Tier 5, the mitten Gary Payton, who I think sticks in starting lineup. He's been awesome for the Warriors. And I just love to see Gary Payton playing minutes ahead of Jordan Poole. Payton is way better than Jordan Poole. I know that Poole is getting paid all that money, but he's kind of garbage. Tier 6 for me is Lonnie Walker. Tier 6 is a pretty thin tier. So Ace of Spade, thank you for the super chat. Those are my favorite players in each tier. Now we've got a question here from Nathan Futi. Nathan wants to know AD, Moody, and Lonnie Walker or Draymond Green. Wait, these are, so this is, one side is 3 players. The other side is 4 players.
I'd rather play the side with 4 players.
Yeah, same. It seems like a cheat. Because one side he has AD, Moody, and Lonnie Walker. The other side is Green, Reeves, DiVincenzo, and Payton.
Yeah.
I feel it. Nathan, did you leave out a player? Let me see if he added anything in YouTube chat. You don't have to leave another super chat. Just throw into YouTube one more time what those 2 sides were, because I feel like I'm missing something here.
I don't think I'm going to love DiVincenzo, so I think that I'm going to lean towards the, like, if you're just going for like what's a better start to your showdown lineup, it's probably going to be the AD, Moody, Walker side.
Gary Payton's my most rostered player today, so it's hard so like I'm not sure, is it like Green, Reeves, and then DiVincenzo or Payton, or what's the like?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Gonna have to clarify there, I think.
If it's AD, Moody, Walker, or Green, Reeves, Payton, I like the Green, Reeves, Payton side more. But yeah, we'll get back to this. So Nathan, just throw it into YouTube chat. Like I said, don't have to leave us another super chat. Just clarify your question. Type it in one more time in just the regular YouTube chat. I have my eye out looking for it. We have a super chat here from Colin Mahone. Colin wants to know, if Wiggins tries to play but is ineffective and or can't go, where does the usage in minutes go, assuming we already have Payton? Great question, because I do think this is an interesting way to look at it. If you and I are not super high on Wiggins, although I didn't ask you, what are you going to be doing with Wiggins in your lineups, considering the discussion we had?
Yeah, I'm going to be underweight to the field. Okay. If the field is at 21%, I probably will end up at 10-15%, which will probably be close to the field. So yeah, I'm going to be underweight to where we have the field projected.
And then he says, so if Wiggins tries to play but is ineffective or can't, where do the usage in minutes go? Is there any player from this team that you see benefiting from the potential absence of Wiggins? Because it is something we haven't really talked about. I think we should consider with the Wiggins situation.
Yeah, I agree. So it's a really tough question, to be honest, I think, on this slate. Like, I could see Moody gaining a few extra minutes. I could see it being kind of split among several players. So like, I think Moody probably sees an uptick in minutes. DiVincenzo probably sees an uptick in minutes. And honestly, Kevon Looney, like, they might just go big. Kevon Looney was pretty effective in the most recent game. They won that game. They might be trying to ramp up Looney's minutes. They got him up to 20 minutes in the most recent game. So honestly, I don't know that there's one player who to me becomes like the absolute slam dunk must play player who wasn't already somebody we wanted to play. Do you see it differently?
I think that if he is unable to go, it would be Dante DiVincenzo that gains minutes. Now, with that said, I don't think he benefits enough to the point where I actually want to play him in any kind of meaningful amount of way.
Okay. But I mean,
other guys, though, like, if DiVincenzo plays a little bit, let's say that Wiggins plays 5 less minutes than normal, DiVincenzo plays like 5 more minutes. Still, you got 13 minutes at DiVincenzo. Let's say he plays 18 or 19 after he played 13 last game. Is that enough for me to really want to meaningfully play Dante DiVincenzo?
Right.
Not really. Not really.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe Poole, like Poole might be the one who benefits like enough to where it would actually give me a bump to him. But Poole, I'm like, we haven't projected for just under 20% ownership. I'm already getting to some Poole. I don't know that I really want to be jamming in Poole, but like, if we could give Poole like 5 extra minutes, he'd look really good at 4,500. So, or even like a couple. I mean, he already, like, he's getting into my lineups just with the projection, how we have him. If we did project him for even 3 extra minutes, Poole would look like really good relative to where we have him projected. So he might be the one who benefits in a way that would impact my lineups. And maybe Looney as well, just because they'd be a little bit more likely to go big to just change the structure of the lineup.
Yeah, it's just hard, right? Because it could be, so there's a lot of things need to happen here just for this to hit. And it's why I'm not going to consider it too much. Like, to me, the easiest thing is like, there's more shots for Steph Curry. There's more shots for Klay Thompson, but these are guys we're probably already playing on this slate anyway as a group here. But here's what's really hard. You actually need Wiggins to play less minutes, which you and I think is probably one of the more likely outcomes. We don't know that for sure. So here are the things you need to happen. You need to hit on Wiggins playing less minutes. In addition to that, you need to know who those minutes are going to, which is also a crapshoot. It could be a number of guys. They could just play Gary Payton more. They could play Jordan Poole, DiVincenzo, Moody. They have a bunch of options. So not only do you need to hit on Wiggins, you need to hit on which player it is. And then the guy actually has to go and play well. So you just do the calculation of all these things in your head. What are the percentage chance of all of these things coming together? It seems fairly slim to me. So it's really hard to go out and say, I'm playing a bunch of Moody, I'm playing a bunch of DiVincenzo for this situation. To me, it just fails more likely than it succeeds, considering all the ifs.
So I agree with you about those two in particular, but I do think that it is something that you could factor in for people like Jordan Poole, like, and Kevon Looney. So like, as I was saying, I think that if you wanted to think like, okay, maybe Wiggins plays a little bit less, maybe that means Looney plays 22 minutes instead of the 20 that we haven't projected for. Maybe Poole plays 24 minutes instead of the 21 and a half we haven't projected for. It would be like, these are players that are already in my player pool. So then I do think that it is a boost to those players a little bit.
All right. No follow from Nathan Feudy. I was just skimming through chat to see if we could find him, but no follow-up yet. So once again, Nathan, I really want to answer your super chat, but he did?
Oh, yep.
Let's see. Here it is. All right. So he is updated, and it is Draymond Green, Austin Reeves, Dante DiVincenzo, or AD Moody Walker.
Oof. I think it's the latter for me. I guess Moody and DiVincenzo are not all that different of plays.
Yeah, I'll go AD, Moody, and Walker.
Yeah. Are those the same price, those two? I guess Reeves is a lot more expensive than Walker or Moody. What is Walker's price at now? 30. Okay.
It was a showdown question.
Right. Good point.
But yeah, AD, Moody, Walker for me. AD, like I said, he's my favorite pay up option on the entire slate. So I'm going to ride with AD to answer your question. Thank you for clarifying and following up there, Nathan. Brandon Wagner wants to know, if Wiggins bails early, what does that mean for Looney? Probably nothing, but maybe something.
Right. That's kind of what we've been talking about already. Yeah. It's just like, I think it could be a boost for Looney. Looney already played 20 minutes in the most recent game, so I think that he might be trending in the right direction already. But it's not a sure thing that Looney picks up extra minutes.
Let's see. Yeah, I have less than 10% of Moody. By the way, did you see the DK app? They added an exposures column, which is maybe the greatest idea they've ever had. And I don't know how they've never had that before. Showing
your exposure? Like they already had that on the website. Or maybe that was an extension I have. I don't know. But
cool. Yeah, I think it was an extension that you had because they didn't have this before. Now, if you go on your lineups, there's a thing you just click view my player exposure, and then you can sort it by sport, and it'll just tell you how much exposure you have to everybody. Key, because a lot of times these slates start, especially for NBA, less so in the postseason, but during the regular season, players get ruled out and everything. I'm just scrambling to swap lineups, and then we go into it. I have no clue who the hell I'm supposed to be rooting for. Yeah. Now I know because we got this this extra little tab in here, so very useful. I'm excited about it.
Me too.
The next question here is from James Magruder. James wants to know, by the way, just as a follow-up to Brandon Wagner, at Looney, is he somebody you're going to be playing meaningfully? Like I said, I have less than 10% of them. And a big issue with that, too, is just the positionality, him only being center eligible.
I am going to be above weight to the field on Looney, just with the, understanding that he could play a few extra minutes and that he is, he's a good point per dollar guy. At 11.5%, I'm not going to be like jamming in Moody, but he is somebody that I'm going to end up overweight to the field, actually.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I could understand the case for it. Not a spot that I'm going down. I have a lot of it too. Is I have so much exposure to AD. I mentioned he's my favorite pay up option. It kind of leaves me limited for other center spots. So it's like AD, and then it's mixing in some Hartenstein, some Mitchell Robinson, a little bit of Looney. So just other guys. And then obviously like some power forwards that have center eligibility. So if I'm prioritizing AD, it's kind of hard to prioritize another center as well.
Sure.
Next question is from James Magruder. Best projected player, 5K or under for utility, but it cannot be Gary Payton or Lonnie Walker.
Okay. Best projected player, 5K or under.
Can't be Payton, can't be Walker.
Mitchell Robinson.
Yep, Mitchell Robinson for me as well. 5K or under. Yep, so he fits. I was just making sure it didn't say only under 5K. Yep, Mitchell Robinson. That's the guy to go to there. And yeah, it would be Gary Payton for me, but he said no Gary Payton. So Mitchell Robinson. There is your answer, James. Here's a cool one. Guitar Z-Man 247. $100 super chat. Thank you very much for all you guys do. Tied for first with one other guy in the DK $4.20 max.
Wow. Congrats,
love to see it,
man. That's awesome.
Guitar man, good shit. Love to see it. Congrats. What I'm trying to think what I'd have to go back and look at the contest last night. Won't be hard for me to find him. What was the payout on that?
$4. It's usually 15,000 for first place. So I don't know what second place is, and then cut in half.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. I mean, I don't know if his family's watching it. Maybe he doesn't want to know how much money he made last night, but I'm pulling it up. So all right. And I assume it was last night. Oh, and you know how I know it's him? Because the guy who came in first place, Guitar 247. Yeah, I see it right there. $11,250. His lineup, which I'll pull up right now. Marcus Smart, Tyrese Maxey, Jason Tatum, who scored all of his points, fantasy points, like the last 3 minutes of the game after being completely terrible the rest of it. He won a GPP with PJ Tucker last night.
Wow, look at you.
PJ Tucker at power forward. Then he had Time Lord, Campaign, Bruce Brown, and Nikola Jokic. So there you go. Nice hit there, Guitar Man. Love to see it. Absolutely love to see it. And we are caught up on the super. Oh, nope, never mind. 3, Windy, 1, City, 2. What's a good example of the best approach isn't always the right approach? Is it like a tongue? Like, is this a tongue twister? Or
I don't think I have. I think the best approach is the right approach. It doesn't always go right, but. Or is this? Yeah, is this a riddle?
Yeah, that is. Yeah, is it like it's the neighbor's dog? I don't.
The best approach is not always the right approach. I'm struggling here.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would say is like the best approach isn't always the right approach. I don't know. I think the best approach is the best approach. Let me Google this.
All right, you Google this. Let me go into my hottest take that became less hot. I thought I was going to disagree with the tools and everybody on the site. So on 2 days ago, Josh hosted, I was on the Deeper Dive 2 days ago with Josh, and I told Josh that one of my favorite plays on the slate was Josh Hart, that I thought he was a great GPP play. Nobody's going to play him. We had him projected for 7% ownership. And then he was like, oh, okay, all right. And like, didn't really respond. And then I was listening to this morning's strategy show for this slate, and somebody told him I played 30% Josh Hart, and Josh goes, that was a horrible play at the time going in. That was horrible. I was like, okay, you could have said that on the show if you thought that, Josh. Now let me tell you why I disagree and think that Josh Hart remains a great play. It's because Josh Hart has a ton of volatility and is unlikely to hit. But let me tell you, in 2023, Josh Hart has played in 29 games that he did not start. So he's not starting tonight, most likely. In those 29 games, he's played 30 minutes or more 11 times. He's played 40 minutes just once. He scored more than 40 fantasy points twice, and he's scored more than 30 fantasy points 12 times in 29 games. So unlikely to hit, but we am projected for 1% ownership right now on a 2-game slate. I still love the Josh Hart play. I think there's a ton of volatility in it. I still think he's a veteran that Tibbs brought in. The Knicks brought him in because he is a Tibbs guy. He helped them get to where they are. He was very good for the Knicks throughout the regular season. I still think that he's a very good play. In the last game, he had 3 fouls in 5-6 minutes. So like Tibbs pulled him because he had 3 fouls in 6 minutes. Brings him into the second half. 2 or 3 minutes in, he gets another foul. So he has 4 fouls, and Tibbs just like, fuck this. I think that Tibbs is just a very emotional coach, and that there's a ton of volatility in Josh Hart's minutes, and there's a ton of volatility in Josh Hart's fantasy production. So at 1% ownership, I still love him.
Would you like to know what ChatGPT told me?
What did ChatGPT tell you?
So here's when ChatGPT says the best approach when it's not always the right approach, when there are ethical considerations. So the best approach from a technical standpoint or practical standpoint may conflict with ethical principles or moral values. So that's one from ChatGPT. Individual preferences, resource constraints, long-term considerations, unforeseen circumstances. So I would say, when is the best approach not the right approach? Maybe it's if you're going in with the wrong information or inaccurate info. By the way, I have a feeling this was just a joke question, and now I'm just going to break it down and take it very seriously.
I love it. Keep going.
So from using your Josh Hart example,
exactly.
You thought that the best approach was playing Josh Hart last game because he was low owned, and you thought that he was being overlooked by the field, but he ends up playing 9 minutes in that game. So to you, it might have been the best approach, but in hindsight, was it the right approach? Maybe
I think
not,
so. I think it was the right approach.
minutes.
Okay. All right. Approach though. I still think it was the right approach, but we can talk about this all day, get into the philosophy of it all.
Let's see. Anything else? No, I think we've exhausted this question. Thank you for the super chat there. Who was it that left the super chat? That was 3, Windy, 1, City, 2.
Well, let me add one more thing on the Josh Hart. So I just looked at a sampling of these games where he did play big minutes off the bench. What would you guess happened in the start of those games? The Knicks didn't do well. The starters didn't do well. The Knicks got behind in the first half of the first quarter. Then Josh Hart came in and he played him like for the rest of the first half. So it's like that's not what happened in the last game. The Knicks were doing well. RJ Barrett got in foul trouble. Josh Hart comes in, he's horrible, and then he also gets 3 fouls in 5-6 minutes. So I think that in the scenario where the Knicks don't get off to a hot start, maybe Miami, and it's in Miami, so I think it makes it a little bit more likely. Just adding to the reason you should play a play that nobody's going to play anyway because they burned him last time. So probably talked about Josh Hart too much already, but I like it.
There we go. The Josh Hart, is the best approach always the right approach? Who's to say? Who's to say? It's philosophy 101 here in the NBA Live Before Lock show. Some more more questions in the Discord channel here. We haven't touched on Discord yet. Bass DG, DK showdown for Heat and Knicks. Thoughts? Yeah, let me run lineups for that, and then I will get back to you. 3, Windy. 1, City. 2. Move on. Sorry for slowing the show down. And then we got Bass DG said, priority spend ups for DK and value options. Also what contrarian players are exposed to. All right. So for me, my number 1 priority spend up is Anthony Davis. Second, because we talked about that already. Let me go to my lineups.
I will say, just looking at it more objectively, like I kind of look at it as like, yeah, Anthony Davis probably my favorite. We do have Steph projected higher and cheaper than Anthony Davis. So like, just look using the stochastic tools, I think Steph actually looks better than Anthony Davis. It's maybe just a bias that has me leaning towards Anthony Davis.
Yeah, so I have Anthony Davis 1 and Steph Curry is my second most rostered spend up. Now, with that said, I also, for me, I have Anthony Davis for about 2.5 more fantasy points than Steph Curry. Okay. So that is something that's a little bit different for me.
Yeah.
And then also in general, I do find there to just be a lot more points per dollar plays that look good in the backcourt as opposed to the front court, which it doesn't happen all that often. Last night, for instance, we had not a million good centers, but for a 2-game slate, there was a lot of good centers to look at. You know, there was Nikola Jokic, there was Jock Landale. We had Time Lord moving into the starting lineup. Today, it's just the inverse where it's hard to find centers. So the positionality of Anthony Davis makes him a little bit more favorable to me. So Anthony Davis 1, Steph Curry 2. Seems like you're about the same with me.
Yeah, I might be flipping it. I'm actually probably going to get to more of Steph Curry. I'm sort of, it's maybe a toss up between those two, I guess. Jimmy Butler, Jimmy Butler looks like the best point per dollar, but the field is just so high that I can't really call him my favorite at 44%. And LeBron at 26, like it's really hard because LeBron is 26%. Like there's honestly good reason to play all 4 of these guys, I kind of think. But I think I'm with you. I think Steph Curry, Anthony Davis, my favorite of the 4.
In terms of exposure for me, it's Anthony Davis 1, it is Steph Curry 2, it is Jimmy Butler 3, it is LeBron James 4. This has just been a weird series for LeBron. Like, I don't know whether to chalk it up to age or something else, but he's taken a back seat, not just Anthony Davis, but there are sometimes too, like he's comfortable not shooting at all for an entire quarter or a couple times an entire half. So you just got to this point where he's playing reasonably well, but there hasn't been a ceiling for LeBron in this series. He has not topped 50 fantasy points once yet. And the last time he did was an overtime game against the Grizzlies. In terms of regulation games, he has not scored over 50 fantasy points in a playoff game since game 2 of the series against the Memphis Grizzlies.
Wow. Okay.
You know, the games, and once again, these are not terrible fantasy games, but
did he hit the cliff, Greg? Do you think he hit the cliff? Is he just like, is he too old now?
I just think he's saving himself.
Yeah, probably. But is he saving himself for tonight is the question, because this is an elimination game in Los Angeles where if they don't win, they're going back to, I guess not elimination for them, but if they don't win, they have to go back to Golden State for game 7.
I think he has a really good team around him. The pieces fit together really well. And I think that here's what I think how he's going to play this game. I think that if this is a very close competitive game in the fourth quarter, we see him turn it up another gear. If this is a game where the Lakers are once again kind of coasting and they're up, you know, like 7, 8, 10 points for the majority of the game, I think he just keeps doing the same thing. And he says, I'm going to save myself until we really need that extra burst of energy. And what we've seen from LeBron in this series, once again, 46, 49, 46, 39, 48 fantasy points, not terrible games, but he's not winning anybody GPPs these days. And you know, it's still a somewhat significant amount of ownership. We're kind of splitting hairs here, but there's 4 really good points per dollar spend up options, and he's my least favorite of the 4.
I think that's totally fair. Greg, if Joel Embiid does not score a point or 2 points, whatever it is on Sunday, how many, and because he gets hurt or something, how many hours are you going to spend on Twitter finding dunces for us?
Well, Sunday is Mother's Day and I have family plans, so probably less than I would in other scenarios.
Okay. All right. That's kind of what I'm
So,
hoping for, is that something happens where
yeah.
Joel Embiid doesn't, it gets ejected in the first couple of minutes, something like that, where he doesn't score his 1.5.
I'll be busy with my family, so not quite the same amount of free time I normally have. So I'll say 5 hours.
Okay. I guess that's a reasonable number. I think that's you're supporting the people with 5 hours.
Yeah, 5 hours. 5 hours. And the other part of the question we got from Basti G, he wanted to know value options that we're getting the most exposure to, and then contrarian players. So in terms of value, I mean, it's just, I don't know how you get away from Gary Payton right now. He's my most rostered player on this slate. He's in nearly everything I'm doing. I understand there's a bias here. Basically every single Warrior slate since the start of the playoffs that we've done has shown you, what have I said? Gary Payton's going to be ahead of Jordan Poole at the rotation at some point in time. And now it's happened. And now he keeps winning slates for me. So I just keep playing a bunch of Gary Payton. It's Gary Payton by a mile. Are there any other value options you like? I know he's super chalky. I don't care. I'm playing a bunch of them.
Value options. Hang on. Let me sort by salary here. I'm getting to a weird amount of Caleb Martin, which I'm not entirely comfortable with how much I'm getting of Caleb Martin. I cut back his projection. I'm still getting to around 50% Caleb Martin, but he's just for some reason at 4,100, even with a projection of 19, which isn't a great projection, I'm getting to a ton. I guess just the positionality he's getting into a lot of my lineup. So I can't say that I hate it when I'm getting to that much. Lonnie Walker also looks pretty good at 3,700. I'm going to be right around the field at about around 35%. So I think he's a fine play there. You can go to some Rui if you want to. You can go to some Hartenstein. But yeah, I think Gary Payton, probably my favorite of the value options. I'm with you on that.
Yep, those are my most rostered ones, by the way.
Dennis Schroeder. I'll add Dennis Schroeder there as well. He's only 4,200. If Dennis Schroeder counts, which I guess is cheaper than Gary Payton. So he has played 35 and 29 minutes the past 2 games. We've got him in for 29 minutes tonight. He looks pretty good too.
Yep, Payton, Walker, Martin, those are the popular ones. And then the other part of Bastigi's question, then I'll address his showdown question. Contrarian options, are there any lesser owned players that you get to a good amount of today?
I mean, Josh Hart, I've talked about Josh Hart a good amount already. I'm going to be well, I mean, the field is at 1%. So you can play 5% and be well over the field, but I'm going to be much even over that. And I'm just accepting that there's a very real chance, a very good chance that Josh Hart absolutely kills every lineup you play him in at 53. And I want to express that. Like it is not likely to hit. It is much more likely than 1% to hit, in my opinion, is the reason I'm playing Josh Hart in large field GPPs only. But he is the most contrarian play I'm going to. Looney probably number 2 as far as like real contrarian, like under 15% owned. I'm playing above the field on 11.5% owned Looney.
It's like there aren't, I don't have any guys that I'm taking a stance on with you, like a Josh Hart or a Looney or anything like that I'm going to be overweight to. But
you can join me, Greg. You're allowed. You can join me.
Yeah, I'm not going to on this one. Jalen Brunson, though. Jalen Brunson's projected for sub 30% ownership. He played 48 minutes last game. I'm overweight to the field on Jalen Brunson. I think his upside is not being recognized by the field. And there's so many good pay-up options on the slate. He's gotten to be more expensive. That's probably why people are getting away from Brunson. But he played 48 minutes last game, and he's not projected for all that much ownership for a 2-game slate. That's somebody who I like getting overweight to. If you get another game where Jalen Brunson plays 48 minutes, he's very live to crush again.
Yeah, the only problem is we haven't projected for 46 minutes, and at his projection, I still wasn't getting to it. I actually gave him a little boost because I do think there's some volatility, obviously, in his projection. I wanted to get there. I'm above the field now on Jalen Brunson after giving him a boost, but it was kind of funny seeing we haven't projected for 46 minutes, and I was getting to 0 at our projection for him.
And then as for Bastigi's question about showdown, the captain I got the most exposure to is Jimmy Butler, Jalen Brunson second. As for utility plays, I actually got to a good amount of Cody Zeller in the utility spot just because he's a flat 1K for the showdown contest. He's a decent enough fantasy producer. He's in the rotation. So Cody Zeller, Isaiah Hartenstein, those are the players that I got to save some salary with. And then just played a bunch of Brunson, Randall, Jimmy Butler. Those were guys who popped up a bunch when I ran lineups there. The next question here comes from the Black Mamba, wants to know, what is our stance on Vincent versus Lowry? I've pretty regularly been playing more of Kyle Lowry, and yep, same again for me today. I'm higher on Lowry than I am on Vincent. Do you have a preference between the two, Neil?
I am also higher on Lowry than I am on Vincent. We have Vincent in for 28 minutes, and I'm still getting to very little. And he's only played 22 and 23 minutes the past 2 games. So it's hard for me to really want to get there. When I think that we're giving him like a bump in his minutes projection. Still not getting there. Really hard for me to love the play. So I prefer Lowry there.
Yeah, and a few more questions here, and I see super chats coming in. So before we answer those, I just want to let people know MLB lineup generator. It is live. It is finally here. We've had people asking us, when is the MLB lineup generator going to be out? I've been getting asked about it since the start of the season. The answer is this week. The answer is now. It came out a few days ago. People are loving it. We've gotten some good feedback from people on social media. And if you guys want access to the MLB lineup generator, I've got a link for it below in the description box. And it's going to get you 50% off your first week. There's a promo code baseball for all. You don't have to worry about that. It's already preloaded into that link below. You click on it. It's already going to have that loaded into the coupon code there. Baseball for all. That is going to get you 50% off your first week of the MLB lineup generator. This is going to be the fastest and easiest way for you guys to upload lineups right from our site. Plus EV lineups, they're built for you. You just have to answer like 3 questions. You want a chalky lineup? Do you want a contrarian lineup? What do you want your lineup build to look like? 5-man stack, 4-man stack. It's going to build the lineups for you, upload them right from there into FanDuel or DraftKings, and then you profit. It's that easy. Next question that we have here is from Sick Mosh. He wants to know, is it okay to have Love and Robinson in DK for cash? I don't know which Robinson you mean, whether it be Duncan or Mitchell Robinson. I would not play either in cash, though.
Yep.
Mitchell Robinson's price has gone up a little bit. There's also just a lot of volatility in general with Mitchell Robinson. And then also, Kevin Love is not a preferred cash option for me either. I would say, like, in general, there's not an issue with those two together, other than, like, I don't think individually they're the best plays on the slate, particularly not for cash games. So that is going to be a no for me, Sick Mosh. Hope he kept your streak going, by the way. Going into yesterday, he had won his cash games on 15 consecutive slates.
Wow. That's like unheard of. Good for you.
Yeah. So I'm curious if he ended up winning again last night. I know I had been on a really good run with NBA DFS, and then I got my ass kicked last night because of the blowout in the later game. I was really high on Durant and Booker, and that game sucked. Next question here is from Pat Play Tomstar. Thoughts on using Reeves over assists again with the Embiid free square on PrizePicks? Yeah, go for the Austin Reeves over assist. It projects as one of the top plays for us every single PrizePicks slate.
Yep.
Clintwood 83. How do you feel about Brunson? I'm overweight to Brunson. I think he plays a shit ton of minutes again.
I am also overweight to Brunson. Yes, still true.
Gangrene. I am with Neil. I have 60% Martin. Trust the generator, Neil. Yeah, right. I think Martin's one of the better value plays on this slate. There's tiers to me of the value plays. Gary Payton is tier 1, and then you get tier 2 of value options. It's Lonnie Walker and Caleb Martin.
Yep. Seems like a good play.
And then Einsteinium wants to know, would I play Barrett, Randall, and Brunson in a lineup together? I mean, if I was hand building one lineup, that wouldn't be my preference.
Yeah.
But I don't have an issue with any of them individually.
I didn't set any rule against it.
I wouldn't, if you're just building one lineup, I would say probably, I wouldn't have it. I didn't set a rule against it, but it wouldn't be my preference just playing one lineup.
Yeah. Agreed with that too. Yep. It's like, as I said, I didn't set a rule, but like they could all play, 44 to 48 minutes, all 3 of them. So it's not the worst thing, but yeah, probably not something I'm trying to do.
Yeah. Tibbs is running his dudes into the ground right now.
Yeah. And
I'm cool with it. The next super chat that we have here is from Corey Shea. Who are the top 3 must-haves and the top 3 under-owned / low-owned players? It says top 3 must-haves for me. I am going to say Gary Payton, Anthony Davis, and I guess I'll say Caleb Martin, but I wouldn't call him a must-have either. Like for me, there's only 2 must-haves on the slate. It's Gary Payton and Anthony Davis.
Yeah, I don't know that I wouldn't call anybody a must-have, if I'm being honest. Like Gary Payton.
Somebody who's building 20 lineups, who are the players you would say that, like, oh, it's a massive mistake if you don't have them in your player pool?
Okay, yeah. In 20 lineups, if you don't have any of Gary Payton, that's probably a mistake. but he is also 61%. I'm actually, let me look at what Boom Bust says, because I'm curious. Like I would have some, to be clear, I would have some if I played 20 lineups. I wouldn't necessarily think that you're an idiot if you don't have him, because there are a lot of different ways to play. But I'm curious to see what he looks like in the Boom Bust tool. We do have him over on. We've got him at 54% chance of being optimal at 61% projected ownership. So slight negative leverage, but again, that's not enough that I would not fade him in 20 lives. So yes, I would probably call Gary Payton, if we use the term loosely, I would call him a must-have. Outside of Gary Payton, I don't even know that I would call Anthony Davis a must-have, but you have him projected higher than Stochastic does, so probably that's the difference that I wouldn't, because I'm like, you do have to make a decision between Anthony Davis, Jimmy Butler, Steph, LeBron. Like if you wanted to go one of those other directions, I think that that's a reasonable take. So I wouldn't call Anthony Davis a must-have, but I like Anthony Davis quite a bit. So I guess if we're using the term loosely, we can add him there too. Sure. And of course, Josh Hart.
Yeah. I guess if I had to throw a third in, I would say Peyton, AD, and Steph Curry. Those are the three I would say. And then he wants to know favorite low-owned players. We just have to say our three favorite low-owned players today. I'm just going to say anybody under 30%. For me, Brunson, Lowry, and Hartenstein. Who are your three favorite players who are, we'll say, sub 30% owned, Neil?
Three favorite sub 30% owned. Okay. Really interesting question there. Let's see. I mean, it depends on what you mean by favorite. Like, who am I going to have the most of? It's probably going to be Julius Randle. I'm actually above weight to the field on Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson. I'm above weight to the field on both of them. I'm actually above weight to the field on Bam Adebayo as well. Those are the first three that I see when I am sorting by ownership projection, players that are under 30% that I'm getting above weight to the field on. Actually, I'm above weight to the field on Kyle Lowry too. Trying to see if I have any like really strong stands here that I really want to take, and I don't know that I really do.
It's so hard on a 2-game slate when people are talking about, low own, because that's what I said, like 30%. It's hard to be like, oh, this 3% owned guy, like it doesn't really exist. So I gave three guys who are sub 30% that I'm overweight to. And yeah, I'm going to stick with those. Next super chat is from our guy, Jorge. Jorge Jacomi says, last spot, best shooting guard for you guys on DK, 5,900 left. Let's see. Austin Reeves. I mean, there's nobody else who's even remotely in that. It's just him by default.
Yeah. Yep. It's Austin Reeves.
Yeah. If you were building one lineup and 5,900 left, with confidence, you're selecting Austin Reeves there. Cause I'm not going all the way down to Quentin Grimes and leaving the 700 on the table.
No, yeah, it's Austin Reeves pretty clearly. Like he just projects far better than six fantasy points better than the next best under 5,900.
Yeah. It's gotta be Reeves there. Gotta be. Next question here is from my Philararch. Butler, DiVincenzo, and Reeves. So on one side, Butler, DiVincenzo, Reeves. By the way, my Philararch, one of my favorite things about him, I assume this is intentional. He leaves us these super chats. He spells maybe 10% of the players' names right.
Why do you assume that it's intentional? A lot of people just aren't good at spelling. Like it's like my dad, very, very smart man. Not a great speller. So I think there are people who just don't spell that well. But
because I just don't believe that he's that he's just adding extra letters to players' names. Like Strus with Strus, Struss.
It's a funny bit if it is a bit.
I think
he could just be an engineer though. He could just be an engineer.
It would be funny if it was like instead of Austin, because he also spelled Reeves wrong, but it was like Austin Reeves or something. I don't know. Either way, yeah. Butler, DiVincenzo, and he put a space between the D and the Vincenzo. So Butler, DiVincenzo, and Reeves, or Draymond, Strus, and Vincent. That's Butler, DiVincenzo, and Reeves for me. I don't love DiVincenzo, but yeah. I don't love Strus or Vincent. I like the first option better.
The first option has two players that I like playing. The second option has one. So yeah, I guess I'll go with the first also.
Daniel Buffington has left us a super chat. Thank you, Neil. I put in Caleb Martin at small forward on DK before you brought up your ownership on him. He's the only player I have from this game and went heavy on the Lakers Dubs game. Good luck tonight, Greg and Neil. Thank you.
Good luck to you as well, but you shouldn't thank me because we haven't even seen how he's done yet. And that's literally just from what the optimizer is giving me. That's not some strong take I'm taking.
Yeah. You're welcome to, if Neil won't take credit for it, I will. You're welcome.
We'll give credit to Greg.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll take all the credit. Seifed in. Hi. Thoughts on Moody? I haven't played Moody at all in the playoffs, and I'm not today either. I do think there's more opportunity for him today versus some of the other slates, depending on what happens with Andrew Wiggins, but there's a lot of good value today, and I'm just not quite getting there. Moody's somebody that you're landing on now that we're getting a little bit closer to lock.
Yeah, I don't have any Moody today. I mean, he did play like prior to the last game, 26, 20, 19 minutes. So we could end up with egg on our face here, but 10 minutes in the last game, they won. I don't think I'm going there.
And the next super chat is from Colin Mahone. Colin, single entry, last guy in Strus or Vincent. That's Strus for me. Strus has been more popular than expected on basically every single slate so far in the playoffs. But there's also been an actual ceiling for him. And I do think he has a higher ceiling than Vince, because you get these scenarios with Strus where the first quarter starts, he knocks down his first three, and his confidence level goes from 2 to like 11 out of 10. And immediately he's like, I am the best player on the team. I'm going to take every single shot now. So you watch these games, like the other day, Eric was talking about Strus is the worst player in the world, and Strus scored like 8 points in 3 minutes, and Eric started to have a meltdown when we were talking after the show was over. I was like, boy, I hope this keeps going. And it didn't keep up, but you have these kind of ceiling games for Strus. Like, he scored over 30 fantasy points multiple times in this series. I'm going to go with Strus. For you, Strus or Vincent?
It's such a toss-up for me. I have like almost the exact same amount of both, but Strus we do have at lower ownership and a higher projected. He costs under more, but I would probably go to Strus like if it is a last man in type situation, just for the lower ownership there.
Pierre wants to know Austin Reeves or Klay Thompson. That is Klay Thompson for me.
Vince says, Neil, you can't be smart and a stupid speller. Well, I'll accept that because I did win the 5th grade spelling bee. I'm just going to throw that out there. But I disagree. I do think that there are some very smart people who are bad spellers.
Do you remember how Trey and Tyus Jones did in the spelling bee? Because my understanding is you went to school with them.
I did go to high school with them. Yeah, we were about the same year. They didn't win. I know that much because I won.
It was only you that won. Only you. Neil, spelling bee champion.
That's
which,
right.
To be fair, it's probably worth more than whatever Tyus and Trey Jones NBA contracts are worth.
Exactly.
Corey Bomber has left us a super chat. And thank you guys for all the super chats today. We do appreciate it. And anybody else who wants to support the channel, just like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Really simple way that you guys could support the channel, and only takes you a couple clicks of the button. So if you guys haven't liked the video, subscribing to the YouTube channel, please go ahead and do that. Now we have Corey Bomber is asking us all right, couple of iterations here. D'Lo and Reeves. Oh, so it's a 3v3. Okay. D'Lo, Reeves, Mitchell Robinson, or... Oh, okay. I understand now. D'Lo or Reeves, and then Mitchell Robinson, or Klay and Schroeder for DK. The latter. Klay Thompson and Dennis Schroeder.
I still maybe I need to read the question for myself.
Yeah.
D'Lo, I see. D'Lo or Reeves and Mitchell Robinson. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think the first one is pretty interesting too to me. Like, I do like both D'Lo and Reeves, and I kind of like Mitchell Robinson too, just as a highly volatile player, but it's still probably the latter for me too.
Yep. So we are going with the latter on that one. And now I'm going to check Discord to make sure we have everybody's questions answered. And a couple ones in here that we could hit on, and then we'll just really quickly recap some of our exposures. Ghetto Farmer Boy, last spot, 3,600 and under. 3,600 and under. Let's see. 3,600 and under. That is Isaiah Hartenstein for me.
I'm rerunning a crunch because I just saw that my last crunch I had 35% Wiggins somehow, and I don't know how that. I made some adjustment to somebody else and got to a ton of Wiggins, which I do not want. I want to be
good.
Probably closer under.
Work on your lineups. I'll answer these last few questions, and then we'll summarize what our ownership ended up being. Cool. But anyway, that is Isaiah Hartenstein from the Ghetto Farmer Boy with 3,600 to go. Einsteinium says, Vandy winning someone a GPP today. He won me a GPP a couple of weeks ago and has been nothing but unkind to me since. So maybe, but I am not on Vanderbilt tonight. Let me see if that's the case. Yeah, I'm not really playing Vanderbilt today. Not today. JEW, favorite core players for DK single entry and favorite contrarian play for DK single entry. Yeah, core guys, I would say Gary Payton, Anthony Davis, Lonnie Walker, Caleb Martin, Steph Curry. If you want to be contrarian, Kyle Lowry, I do not expect to have a lot of ownership in DK single entry, and I'm overweight to him in large field tournaments. Basti G, Robinson, and Strus. Robinson, Strus, or Lowry. Kyle Lowry. I like Kyle Lowry quite a bit today in tournaments. Another guy, fairly wide range of outcomes with Lowry. You never know what his minutes are going to look like, but it does seem in some of these higher leverage spots, it looks like the Heat, at least to me when I watch these games, they're a little more comfortable relying on Lowry than maybe some of their less experienced players, like the play-in game, for instance. Remember, we saw that game, really pivotal game for the Heat. What do? They kind of let Lowry run things, and he crushed in that game. We've seen that a couple other times in high leverage spots as well. They like I assume they just like the experience and they're comfortable with that he's been in these situations before. So I'm on Lowry today. Miami High Life, any Rui? Yes, but not much.
Same.
Do you have your lineup set now, Neil?
I'm running one more crunch, but you can ask me a question if you throw something off me if you want.
Yeah, I was just going to run through. So I haven't really gotten to talk about FanDuel much just because we're just answering the questions you guys have gotten, and so many have been TK related. So I just want to run through the players I got the most exposure to over on FanDuel. At point guard for me, that is D'Angelo Russell and Steph Curry. Shooting guard, Klay Thompson and Gary Payton. Small forward, Austin Reeves and LeBron James. Power forward, also LeBron, and then Julius Randle. Julius Randle, I think, is a really, really strong looking option on FanDuel. Only $7,600 for him over on FanDuel. And I know that they were a little more conservative with his minutes. Last game, he played 36. There's opportunity for a big spike in minutes for Julius Randle. That's the one guy who hasn't carried as big of a load as of late. So Julius Randle there. And then at center, Anthony Davis, Draymond Green also. Now, with that said, the power forward, center, it's kind of weird on FanDuel because so many players have power forward and center eligibility. That's one of the reasons that I have a lot of Anthony Davis and Draymond Green. If you're talking about somebody who's just center eligible, it's Bam Adebayo, but I'm underweight to the field on Bam right now.
Doug Gilly says Neil's about to take out the winning lineup. Yeah, probably. I probably just did, but good thing I never checked that. I never look back at the lineups I didn't play.
Oh, I do all the time.
Do you really? That's just,
I
couldn't, it's torture. Why would you do that to yourself?
I think it's funny. So the other thing too is it's inevitable, right? Because if you run like 18 crunches, like, because I know for me, when I was prepping for basketball before and I was trying to get some stuff going, I think I'd run like 28 crunches prior to the show. It is inevitable that somewhere amongst those 28 crunches,
you're going to have,
And by the way, I'm building like thousands of lineups in some of these crunches. It is inevitable that I have built, like, if I do 18 crunches and each of them have like 1,000 lineups in them, it means I've built, nearly 20,000 lineups. Yet stands to reason I probably have a lineup in there that's better than the lineups I actually played.
Yeah.
So I do it. Torture myself. I think it's funny. No reason.
I'm not a self-torturer.
One final question from Miss Click Genius. Curry and Strus or Butler and Lowry? That is Butler and Lowry for me. And then, that is going to do it for us. So everybody who watched until the end here, thank you very much for sticking around with us. I hope you have a great weekend. I'm not going to be here tomorrow. I get a day off, which never happens. I have Saturday and Sunday off for the first time in 2023. Wow. We're 5 months in. This has never happened this year. I do not believe, other than maybe the NBA All-Star break. So I'm going to enjoy my weekend. Enjoy your Mother's Day as well. If you guys haven't done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Have a great weekend. See you guys back here on Monday.